OCN Volume 26 Number 4, April 4, 2026. This podcast presents the audio versions of the articles and columns in this issue of OCN in the order they appeared in the paper. For details, please refer to the articles and columns, which are posted at ocn.me. Buc-ee's Resistance Community Meeting, March 19, It's Not Over. By James Howell. A standing room-only crowd of 300 or more gathered at the Tri-Lakes YMCA on March 19 to hear the latest news about the proposed Buc-ee's Travel Center from Matthew Beverly of Tri-Lakes Preservation Incorporated, TPI, a nonprofit committed to supporting responsible growth in the Tri-Lakes area, and from Kat Gale, a lawyer with Integrity Matters, IM, a nonprofit government watchdog group. Beverly gave an overview of the travel center design, discussed recent developments, zoning issues, water supply, public services, and property values, ending with a call to action. It's not over, he said. Gale argued that El Paso County has ignored the law to allow the project to go forward and presented IM's next steps. Scale and scope. Beverly said Buc-ee's plan to build a 74,000 square foot building on the west side of the intersection of I-25 and County Line Road with 25 to 35 acres of concrete parking lot. The travel center would have 120 fueling spots, nearly doubling the number currently in the Tri-Lakes community. 11,000 cars would exit and re-enter the freeway on the average weekday after stopping at the center, Beverly said. He expected more traffic on weekends and holidays. Buc-ee's plan calls for 320 light fixtures and a 100-foot sign. The light pollution would be visible for miles. The center is estimated to use around 1.3 million gallons of water a month, Beverly said. Recent developments. Beverly said that Monument Ridge West LLC, MRW, the company that owns the land, recently withdrew its application for annexation into the town of Palmer Lake. Palmer Lake's Board of Trustees had not accepted the withdrawal at the time of the meeting at the YMCA. He argued that a small group of Palmer Lake town leaders wanted to get the project approved as quickly as possible. Vertex Consulting Services, the company advising Buc-ee's and MRW, submitted a boundary line adjustment to the El Paso County Planning Department, adding 10 acres south of the MRW property originally proposed for the travel center. The adjustment was approved by the Planning Department on an administrative basis without a public hearing. Fill dirt from the county's work to level, straighten, and add curbs to Beacon Light Road has been stockpiled on the proposed Buc-ee's site. MRW has applied for 2 permits to drill wells on the property, one for the Denver Aquifer and the other for the Arapahoe Aquifer. Beverly noted that the well permit requests preceded Buc-ee's withdrawal of its Palmer Lake annexation application, which he argued indicated the company's intention to go back to the county for approval. Beverly noted that no application to build the travel center has been filed at the county level to date. He said he expects the company to try to get administrative approval, which would not require any public hearing, because most of the property is currently zoned C1, an obsolete zoning category historically used for small-scale neighborhood commercial activities. Zoning issues. Beverly said one of TPI's goals was to educate the community about zoning issues. The land to the east of I-25, known as Monument Ridge East, is zoned for residences in 2 categories, 12 residences per acre, RM 12, and 1 residence per 6,000 square foot lot, RS 6,000. The land west of the travel center site is zoned for rural residences on 5-acre lots, RR 5. These residences all use wells, Beverly said. A small portion in the northeast corner of the travel center site is zoned Commercial Community, CC, a designation used for retail, service, and office establishments that primarily serve nearby residential neighborhoods. The county master plan categorizes the area at the top of the Palmer Divide as suburban residential, which, while predominantly for residences, does allow for limited retail and service uses. Beverly said he believed Buc-ee's would argue it is just a gas station to take advantage of the retail and services use aspect of the master plan. Water supply. Beverly explained there are 2 water supply requirements used in planning developments. The state uses a 100-year rule, requiring aquifers to be managed so that they last a minimum of 100 years, in other words, only 1% of the water can be pumped in any given year. The county, however, uses a more stringent 300-year rule that requires developers to identify a 300-year water supply for subdivisions. Beverly said Vertex Consulting Services was arguing for the travel center to fall under the 100-year rule because it is not a subdivision. Allowing a single business to use the 100-year rule would require the county to set a precedent, Beverly said. Public Services. Beverly said Buc-ee's decision not to pursue annexation into Palmer Lake requires changes to the plan for public services such as police and fire. Police protection, instead of coming from Palmer Lake, would be provided by the county sheriff's office, which typically has a single officer in North El Paso County, serving as the student resource officer at Palmer Ridge High School. That officer would be pulled out of the high school to address issues at the travel center. Police backup would likely be provided by the Monument Police Department. Monument Fire District would serve the travel center instead of the Palmer Lake Fire Department, and Monument Sanitation District would provide sewer service. Property values. Beverly said it was difficult to find a study examining how Buc-ee's travel centers impact home values. Using studies of major developments, the study done for the rock quarry in Colorado Springs and anecdotal press releases from communities with Buc-ee's travel centers, he estimated a total property value loss to homeowners of $64 million to $241 million. Those property losses would mean a decrease in taxes paid to the county of $346,000 to $1.3 million, according to Beverly's estimate. Call to action. In his final comments, Beverly asked residents to let their neighbors know that Buc-ee still intends to build its travel center. He recommended writing emails and letters to the El Paso Board of County Commissioners, the County Planning Department, Congressional District 5 Representative Jeff Crank, State House District 20 Representative Jarvis Caldwell, and Holly Williams, who represents County Commission District 1. Beverly noted that Buc-ee's plans in other states had failed when departments of transportation made the bill too much, adding that the State Department of Transportation has concerns about traffic safety on Monument Hill. He encouraged the community to attend meetings of the county commissioners and the county planning department. The TPI webpage, at https://www.trilakespreservation.org, has a sign-up page for a newsletter, sample letters opposing the travel center, and a way to make tax-deductible donations to the organization. Legal strategy. In his introduction of Gale, Beverly noted that IM has been supporting TPI pro bono, although TPI has paid the legal fees for filings. Gale said IM had scored victories with the recalls of trustees in Palmer Lake and with Buc-ee's withdrawal of 2 petitions for annexation. She questioned the logic of the community surrendering its water and property rights to a family-owned corporation in Texas. Gale argued that the county's approval of the boundary line adjustment and a recent grading permit were, in fact, backdoor, illegal ways to advance the travel center toward approval. Gale said Integrity Matters was planning lawsuits against the county based on Colorado's Rule 106, which allows individuals to seek judicial review of government actions, and on Rule 57, which authorizes declaratory judgments challenging policymaking by governing bodies. James Howell can be reached at jameshowell@ocn.me. Above, March 25, landfill on the property atop Monument Hill proposed for a future Buc-ee's. Photo by Alan Alkian. Palmer Lake Board of Trustees, March 12, 25, and 26, search for town attorney grinds on. By James Howell and Jackie Burr Hans. In March, the Palmer Lake Board of Trustees, PLBO, continued its efforts to find an attorney to represent the town. It approached 3 law firms and chose one with which to negotiate. Interim Town Administrator Glenn Smith, who was leading the search for an attorney, raised a concern with the board's choice. In response to Smith's memo, the law firm withdrew its proposal. The board then directed staff to begin negotiations with a second firm. Smith reported progress on the town's effort to wrap up the withdrawal of the annexation application by Buc-ee's, which the town has not been able to accept due to its lack of an attorney. The board tried, unsuccessfully, to fill 3 vacant seats on its planning commission. Hinkle and Company. CPAs gave the board a report on its audit of the town's 2024 finances. Law firms interviewed. At a workshop on March 12, the board heard presentations from JVAM and Wyatt, Hamilton, Findlay, WHF. Zuckerman Legal was invited but chose not to attend. Kent Whitmer, a partner at JVAM, told the board most of his firm's clients were on the western slope, but the firm intended to expand to the Front Range. Whitmer said he grew up in Denver, went to law school at Denver University, and had an MBA. He first practiced law in Wyoming but came back to Colorado. He had experience with title law, estate planning, and water law and served as Fraser's town attorney. Daniel Findlay, a partner at WHF, said it was a small family firm. He studied law in North Carolina and represented the town of Florence. Findley emphasized his responsiveness and his work with towns and communities. Board selects WHF. At the March 12 board meeting following the workshop, Mayor Dennis Stern said he preferred JVAM. Resident Amy Hudson, who served on the Planning Commission and, briefly, on the Board of Trustees, said that Trustee Roger Mosley had contacted the applicants outside of the board's process and had communicated with the town of Florence using his personal email. Hudson said an open records request to the town of Florence showed an email from Mosley's personal email. Hudson faulted Mosley for not using his town-issued email address for town business. Trustee Beth Harris was copied on the email. Harris said she did not ask to be copied on the message and did not actively participate in the exchange between Mosley and the town of Florence. Mosley said he would not recuse himself from votes to select an attorney, and his communication was an attempt to find legal referrals as requested by Palmer Lake town staff. He said he had deleted the email to the town of Florence from his personal email account to save space. After some additional discussion, the board voted on Stern's recommendation to move forward with JVAM. The motion failed, with trustees Mike Beeson, Tony Beltran, and Stern voting in favor and trustees Harris, John Marble, Mosley, and 8S Jerka voting no. Ultimately, the board asked staff to pursue an agreement with WHF. Concerns raised with WHF. At a special meeting on March 25, Smith said attorney Daniel Findley had not disclosed his conversations with Mosley in December and January by text and video conference regarding the position of town attorney, even though the request for proposal, RFP, said that any prior contact should be disclosed by the applicant. Smith argued this was not fair to the other applicants for the position and not a good way to start the relationship with a new attorney. Smith recommended terminating the agreement with WHF. In his defense, Mosley said he had disclosed his contact with one of the applicants at the January 8 Board of Trustees meeting. He said his contact took place before the RFP was made public. Smith said his issue was with Findley's lack of disclosure as required by the RFP. Resident Laura McGuire read a transcript from a previous meeting of Mosley's claim that he had never met this lawyer before, labeling that statement as false. Resident Shauna Ball, who held a seat on the board until she was recalled, said the board's actions were putting the town in danger of losing its insurance coverage as well as legal representation. Resident Susan Miner said the language of the RFP said any contact should be disclosed and did not set any timeframe for when the contact occurred. Mark Waller faulted Mosley and the board for lacking integrity and pointed out the board could be sued by other applicants who could argue the decision process involved inside knowledge. Trustee Beeson said the requirement to disclose prior contacts was listed in the RFP among items the proposal should include, rather than the required submittals, and questioned whether WHF was truly non-compliant. Mosley explained that his outreach to WHF was done on the advice of the Colorado Municipal League General Counsel to encourage firms to apply because they might be reluctant to come to a place in turmoil. Instead of immediately terminating the negotiation with WHF as Smith suggested, the board reached a consensus to invite the lead attorney from WHF to attend the regular board meeting scheduled for the following day. WHF withdraws its proposal. At the regular board meeting on March 26, Smith passed on to the board a letter from Whit Wyatt, a principal at WHF, withdrawing its proposal to provide legal services to the town. Wyatt said the decision was made after a review of the special meeting the day before and in response to Smith's memo recommending that the town withdraw from the negotiation. Wyatt added that WHF had disclosed all contacts with Mosley immediately when asked by Smith, and it interpreted the RFP disclosure requirements differently than Smith did. In response to a comment from Beeson, Smith said he had called WHF to ask them to attend the board meeting but had gotten no response until he received the letter withdrawing its proposal. Town Clerk Erica Romero said she had been calling WHF since Friday with no response. Following additional discussion and comments from the public, Stern moved to direct Smith to reopen a negotiation with JVAM. Beeson said he would second if JVAM would make a substantial cut to its fees, otherwise, he thought the town should look elsewhere. Beeson, Harris, Marble, and Stern voted in favor. Mosley voted no. Beltran and Jerka were excused from the meeting. Buc-ee's annexation withdrawal request closer to completion. Smith updated the board on the work of Dietz and Davis, the law firm hired by the town to complete its acceptance of Buc-ee's request to withdraw its application for annexation. Attorney Carl Coomley would meet with representatives of Buc-ee's in April, Smith said, adding he expected the loose ends of the annexation to be resolved soon. 3 vacancies on Planning Commission go unfilled. At the March 26 board meeting, Romero told the board that there were 3 applicants for the 3 open seats on the Planning Commission: Shauna Ball, Kent Hudson, and Susan Miner. Ball's application emphasized her terms on the Board of Trustees and the Planning Commission. She also served as fire chief and contributed to the town's master plan. Miner served on the board, on the Planning Commission, and worked on master plans for the town and the Elephant Rock property. Hudson chaired the master plan advisory team in 2022. Stern said he would like to hear from each of the applicants, all of whom were present. Mosley said he and other trustees had asked for a workshop to consider the details of all workshops and commissions. Since that workshop had not been held, he said it was inappropriate to proceed with any appointments. He said Jerka, who was excused, had messaged him to ask the board to postpone any appointments until Jerka was present to vote. Stern disagreed, arguing that the Planning Commission had cancelled work due to a lack of quorum. He wanted to proceed with the appointments. Romero said she was directed by the board to advertise the vacancies, had not been asked to stop seeking potential appointees, and mentioned the board had made 2 appointments to the Parks and Trails Commission at recent meetings. She added that she had been diligent in trying to schedule workshops on several topics but received few responses from board members. Harris asked for examples of business that had been delayed due to the vacant seats, and Planning Commission Chair Charlie Eilenfeld said as many as 2 Planning Commission meetings had been cancelled due to a lack of quorum. Harris moved to continue the appointments until Jerka was present. Beeson said he wanted the full board to vote on the appointments. During the discussion of the motion, Eilenfeld said he wanted the board to vote immediately, and the applicants were all highly qualified. Harris amended her motion to continue the appointments until Jerka and Beltran were both present to vote. Her motion passed, with Beeson, Harris, Marble, and Mosley voting in favor, and Stern voting against. 2024 Finances Pass Audit. Jim Hinkle, on behalf of Hinkle and Company, CPAs, gave the board a report on his audit of the town's 2024 finances. His report included an unmodified, or clean, opinion. The audit showed proper segregation of duties. Previous audits had expressed some concerns about this issue. Hinkle said he did not find any deficiencies or material weaknesses, adding he found nothing negative to say. Hinkle addressed some questions he had received before beginning his audit. He said the actual expenses were less than the budgeted expenses in some cases because of changes to the accounting standards. Mosley said he thought $991,000 was not properly accounted for and asked to have an offline conversation about that. Hinkle agreed to Mosley's request. Following Hinkle's report, the board voted unanimously to accept Hinkle's audit report, with the stipulation that any questions Mosley had would be answered in no more than a week. The board also directed staff to have Hinkle and Company proceed with an audit of the town's 2025 finances. A workshop was scheduled for March 27 for Hinkle to meet with Mosley and other board members to allow Hinkle to address any outstanding questions about the 2024 audit report. The next regular board meetings are scheduled for April 9 and 23. See the town's website at www.townofpalmerlake.com to confirm times and dates of board meetings and workshops. Meetings are typically held on the 2nd and 4th Thursdays of the month at the Town Hall. Information: 71948122953. James Howell can be reached at jameshowell@ocn.me. Jackie Burr-Hans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. Lewis Palmer D38 Board of Education, March 16, Music in Our Schools Recognitions, Athletic Complex Resolution, Financial Analysis. By Harriet Halbig. The Lewis Palmer D38 Board of Education recognized staff and students' achievements during Music in Our Schools Month, discussed a proposal to build a multi-purpose athletic complex at the Grace Best location, and received a financial analysis update during its March 16 meeting. Music recognitions. Sam Anderson, band teacher at Lewis Palmer High School, was named Outstanding Young Music Educator by the Colorado Music Educators Association. Benton Miles, a senior at Palmer Ridge High School, was recognized for being selected for the Colorado All-State Jazz Choir. He performed for the board. 4 students from Lewis Palmer Middle School were selected for the Regional Honor Band. They are Zeke Rinesmith, Benjamin Bloomfield, Jack Wittenburn, and Tristan Mendoza. Lewis Palmer Middle School student Xander Billings performed a selection on his guitar. Several high school students were selected for the Western Slope Honor Choir, hosted by Western Colorado University in Gunnison. From Palmer Ridge High School, they are Sydney Black, Lucy Cavan, Benton Miles, Hadley Miles, Cruz Sloan, and Shandy Soper. From Lewis Palmer High School, they are Finn Clark, Noel Garcia, Bernadette Corte, Sienna Schaefer, Joella Streeter, Amelia Wetstein, and Jane White. The group performed an a cappella selection. All recognized individuals received a plaque or certificate and were photographed with members of the board and the principal of their school. Athletic Complex. At its March 3 work session, the board viewed a presentation by community members Scott and Jill Bradley proposing a joint venture between the district and the Monument Athletic Foundation, a nonprofit entity, to build and administer an indoor athletic complex on the site of Grace Best Education Center and adjoining property. The complex would include an ice rink, multi-use outdoor turf area for soccer, lacrosse, and baseball, and multi-use courts for basketball, volleyball, wrestling, and such uses as robotics competitions. The Bradleys said that the advantage of forming the foundation is that it would allow for applying for grants and other funding, which would not be available to the district. The agreement sought would require the district to demolish Grace Best and remediate asbestos on the site, providing a shovel-ready location. The land would remain the property of the district and be leased by the foundation, which would administer and maintain it. The components of the complex would be available for district use as a priority and could be rented to other local leagues and entities. To view the presentation, please go to the district website, lewispalmer.org. Under the Board of Education tab, select Board Docs and select the March 3 meeting. Click on View the Agenda and click on the presentations. At the end of the March 16 meeting, the board passed a resolution to explore the partnership with the foundation with the understanding that all plans would be subject to appropriate approval processes and include community involvement, which may include the town of Monument. The resolution delegates authority to the district's administration to evaluate site suitability, design, benefits, and developing a plan for the project, including lease negotiations and site preparation. Any development is contingent upon further review, funding, compliance with legal requirements, and approval by the Board of Education. Board President Ron Schwartz stated that this resolution does not represent a commitment but a willingness to further explore the project. Financial Planning and Analysis. Chief Business Officer Brett Ridgway reported to the board on the development of the district's 2026-27 budget. A draft budget will be presented to the board at its May meeting. Ridgway said that assumptions are being made regarding funding from the School Finance Act, which provides a large portion of the district's revenue. At present, actual enrollment is expected to decline by 164 students across the district, with the largest decline at the elementary level. Revenue is expected to remain flat at $11,125 per pupil, which would result in a reduction of funding of about $2 million. Investment in capital projects is projected to be $2.5 million. The increase in the cost of health benefits is unknown but could be as much as 17%. This year it was 16%. Ridgway said that in response to this decrease in funding, it will be vital to right-size staffing and programming across the district. This could mean a reduction of 30 to 35 staff members and staffing adjustments at the elementary level. Some adjustments would also be needed at the secondary and administrative levels. To view Ridgway's presentation, please see Board Docs as described above. Student Representatives. Each month, the board welcomes 2 student representatives who can report on activities at their school, ask questions, and participate in board discussions. They may not vote. March's representatives were Keegan Mallory and Claire Monroe from Palmer Ridge High School, who spoke about the Future Business Leaders of America and the Distributive Education Clubs of America. To view their presentations, please see Board Docs. The Lewis Palmer D38 Board of Education meets at 6 p.m. in the Bauman Learning Center at 146 Jefferson Street in Monument. The next regular meeting will be on April 20th. For information, please contact Vicki Wood at VWOOD@lewispalmer.org. Harriet Halbig may be reached at harriethalbig@ocn.me. Monument Academy School Board, March 12, Board approves bond refinancing plan. By Jackie Burr Hans. The Monument Academy, MA, Board met on March 12 to unanimously approve a plan to refinance existing bonds and fund future campus improvements, hear an update on its strategic plan, update several policies, and review other highlights from the administration and committees. Bond refinancing. Board President Ryan Graham led a discussion on the resolution authorizing up to $50 million in bonds, with the maximum interest rate reduced from 8% to 6% to reflect current market conditions while maintaining flexibility. The resolution was approved unanimously following a motion by Graham and a second by Vice President Lindsay Clinton. Executive Director Colin Vinchattel reported that meetings held earlier that day with Moody's and Fitch credit rating agencies went extremely well, highlighting MA's financial performance, enrollment processes, and academic outcomes. Vinchattel said the school expects to receive ratings by the end of March, which could allow the bonds to be issued at investment-grade rates. MA's municipal bond advisor Paul Jason told the board that the refinancing would refund the school's 2014 and 2019 bonds, about $44.8 million in total, and generate an estimated $4.65 million for construction improvements at the secondary campus. Jason said current projections show interest rates near 5%, with closing expected in late April, ahead of a June 1 bond maturity. If MA is not rated at investment grade, they may go with a 10-year fixed rate and a 30-year amortization, so that MA could refinance in a couple of years with a final maturity of 40 years. If MA does achieve investment grade, it would be looking at a 30 to 35-year structure. MA's legal counsel for bond and disclosure Hester Parrott explained that the plan also restructures facility ownership by placing both the east and west campuses under a single building corporation, simplifying leases and strengthening collateral for bondholders. Parrott outlined new financial covenants tied to cash reserves and debt coverage ratios, noting that compliance improves the school's standing with investors. The MA board members recessed to meet with the boards of Monument Academy Building Corporation, MABC, and Monument Academy Foundation, MAF, which respectively are the bondholders for MA's West and East Campus. MABC and MAF board members who were present include Chris Dole, Mark McWilliams, and Melanie Strop, who are all former MA board members. Each organization passed a resolution related to the refunding of current bonds and property transfer from MAF to MABC. Strategic Plan Update. Vinchattel told the board that MA has made measurable progress on its 2025-26 strategic plan, reporting that the school has completed its professional development framework, established new induction processes, and continues work comparing core knowledge and partner curriculum data to guide instructional decisions. Vinchattel said the administration has shifted several leadership and governance goals to in progress, with a focus on documenting board training to ensure consistency for elections and new members, while also advancing marketing and enrollment efforts through MA's marketing partnership with Inkyman. Policy updates. The board unanimously approved multiple policy updates, including continuing disclosure requirements related to bond accountability, DCDMA. Professional staff calendars, GCLMA. Evaluation processes, GCOEMA. Resignation procedures, GCQC/GCQDMA and MAR. Evaluation of licensed personnel, GCOMA and MAR. Board member Jalinda Digert raised clarifying questions during policy discussions, while Graham emphasized accountability and statutory compliance. Note: MA's board policies are available at http://www.tinyurl.com/ma-policies. Highlights. Board meeting highlights include: Spotlight. The meeting opened with a community spotlight recognizing School Resource Officer, SRO, Max Ellis for his service to Monument Academy. Graham thanked Ellis for his role in establishing a strong foundation for campus safety and building positive relationships with students and staff. Ellis is leaving MA to take a position in Florida. Executive Director. Vinchattel also reported on recent school-wide initiatives, including Read Across America activities, Core Knowledge Day for kindergarten students, and the imminent start of track and field construction pending final permitting. Finance Director. Laura Poland presented a detailed financial report showing the school operating largely on track across campuses. Poland noted that year-to-date losses were primarily the result of one-time expenses, including staff bonuses and construction-related costs, and said most programs would be near break-even without those non-recurring items. Curriculum West. Clinton said the committee met to review a writing and grammar curriculum and hopes to bring it to the board in April. Curriculum East. Clinton said secondary school principal Angela Duca provided an update on curriculum alignment, which is on track. Duca said there are 3 new AP Math courses for which they are gauging interest before looking at the curriculum to review. Student Accountability and Advisory Committee, SAAC, West. Clinton said the committee heard from Operations Manager Jake Dicus on how facilities use open ticket processes and procedures and security topics. The committee finalized a recommendation letter to the board, which expressed appreciation for the opportunity to volunteer and for the curriculum, staff, challenging academics, and character teaching. The greatest concern is regarding teacher retention because of its effect on student learning and the amount of homework. SAAC East. Digert said the committee was finalizing analysis of survey results and would bring its letter of recommendation soon. She encouraged families to attend future SAAC meetings. Buildings and facilities. Graham noted that the new school resource officer has been in place undergoing training. Resources and development. Clinton noted that tickets for the April 17 gala are available now and can be purchased using a QR code on signs outside the building. The MA School Board meets at 6:30 p.m. on the second Thursday of each month. The next regular board meeting will be on April 9 at 6:30 p.m. at the East Campus. The agenda and packet are available at tinyurl.com/my-boarddocs. Jackie Burr-Hans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. Monument Academy, March 18, MA announces anonymous $17 million donation for Performing Arts Auditorium. By Jackie Burr-Hans. At its March 12 meeting, the Monument Academy, MA, board teased a special unveiling event to be held on Wednesday, March 18, at its East Campus gym. At its unveiling event, students performed excerpts from Shakespeare and the musical Newsies to showcase the school's commitment to fine arts. This donation, which fully funds the auditorium, is part of a broader capital campaign called Legacy in Motion that seeks donations to build a track and field facility, a gymnasium, and a new high school academic wing. Executive Director Colin Vinchattel recognized the Lundeen family and Lise Richard, who has a long history with MA. He noted that next year is MA's 30th year. Vinchattel was emotional as he announced this gift that he said would slingshot the MA Legacy in Motion capital campaign to build out the East Campus with an athletic field, an academic wing, and a gymnasium, as well as the Performing Arts Center. Board President Ryan Graham announced via the MA Facebook page that due to the unbelievable generosity of anonymous donors, MA had received a $17 million gift to build a 750-seat Performing Arts Center at its East Campus. That kind of generosity changes lives and creates a legacy, he said. He expressed his gratitude and asked the community to partner with MA in raising funds to complete its track and field to match the theater that will be built. This $17 million gift is the largest publicly recorded private donation to a K-12 Colorado public school. The previous record was $6 million. Students spoke about the impact of both the arts education program and the athletic programs, which, they said, fostered a growth mindset and built character through discipline, humility, and resilience. MA announced that it is ready to break ground on a new track and field facility as soon as the final permit is received. The event finished with a finale by the school choir performing Walking on Sunshine and Mr. Blue Sky. Note, more information on MA's capital campaign can be found at https://www.monumentacademy.net/legacy-in-motion/. Jackie Burr-Hans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. Monument Town Council, March 2 and 16, Water Tank Site Annexation Approved. By Marlene Brown. On March 16, the Monument Town Council considered Resolution No. 17/2026, setting forth findings of fact and conclusions regarding the property known as the Town of Monument Beacon Light Road Water Tank. Dan Ungerlater, Director of the Planning Department, explained the timeline and process of the annexation of the water tank site. All findings and conclusions had been completed. The findings passed unanimously, 7-0. Then Ungerlater requested approval of Ordinance No. 04/2026 annexing the site, which passed unanimously, 7-0. At its regular meeting March 2, the council heard from Terry Hayes, President and CEO of the Tri-Lakes Chamber of Commerce, who explained the services provided by the chamber. She explained the different events it helps organize to bring the town together and invite more tourism for downtown merchants. It works with business owners in economic development, including finding a space that fits their needs, helping them to expand their business, and finding quality employees. Hayes is chair of several committees and councils that work within other communities and build relationships with other towns in the area. She is involved with the planning department and attends pre-planning meetings with businesses that are looking to come to the area. She explained that there are many other things that the chamber does to help the town of Monument every day. Rename the road contest. Senior planner Jenna Gorney announced a contest to rename a segment Old Denver Road, previously named Old Denver Highway, that is now being called Crossfield Road, between Santa Fe Avenue and Wagon Gap Trail. The contest started on March 9. After the contest closes, 3 names will be chosen, and the town council will vote on the name at the April 20 regular council meeting. For more information, rules of the contest and how to enter online, go to www.townofmonument.org/691/rename-the-road. Commissioner Bill Wysong of the El Paso Board of County Commissioners and a representative to the Fountain Creek Watershed District, FCWD, explained that the town of Monument now has 2 permanent seats on the FCWD board. This will help the county to have more representation and to balance out representation with Pueblo. Secondly, Commissioner Wysong warned about the mountain pine beetle outbreak along the Front Range. There is concern that any state funding for mitigation will come too late. Legislation begins May 1, and we need to get to work now, he said. When the pine beetle migrates, it can devastate a forest and increase the threat of wildfires. See page 18 for more information about pine beetles. Public Works Director Thomas Tharnish introduced Ordinance 03-2026 to prohibit graywater treatment works. The ordinance intends to protect the town's water return flow. It would only protect the town's boundaries but should include the town's service area, he said. The council voted unanimously to continue the discussion and for staff to modify the language to include the service area, and to continue the public hearing at the March 16 meeting. The council approved the Respect Master Service Agreement for $532,899 for construction services and observation for the Beacon Light Road Pipeline and Monument Hill water tank projects. Staff confirmed that the existing tank on Monument Hill is deteriorating and under state scrutiny and emphasized the urgency of completing the new tank project within the next 9 to 12 months. The council adjourned to an executive session. Fire Code Adoption. Unger later asked for the adoption of the International Fire and Wildfire Resiliency Code as presented by Division Chief of Community Risk Reduction Jonathan Bradley of Monument Fire District, MFD, on February 17. MFD has adopted the new fire code and has asked that the town of Monument and El Paso County to adopt the code. The Planning Commission will be updating the Building Codes Manual and adding the new fire code. The request passed unanimously, 7-0. Other code ordinances were approved, 7-0. They are health and safety regulations, repealing and readopting Title VIII's, municipal court can set new court dates/times in case of emergency or weather, and the prohibition of graywater tank systems. For more information on these and other code ordinances updates, go to https://library.municode.com/co/monument/code/code_of_ordinances. The council approved the purchase of a 2024 water emergency response truck for $97,531. The old truck is 20 years old and has become too costly to repair. Jennifer Phillips, Director of Finance, presented the yearly update regarding the investment accounts policy. No changes have been made in investments or in any of the accounts since the last update. Public comments. Hayes reminded the council that the annual awards dinner is on April 2 at the Phil Long Music Center. Haley Chapin, Executive Director of Tri-Lakes Cares, announced that the Taste of Tri-Lakes Cares fundraiser will be held on May 13 at the Spruce Mountain Event Center. For more information and to purchase tickets, go to trilakescars.org/events/taste-of-tri-lakes-cares. Regular meetings are typically held on the first and third Monday of each month at 6:30 p.m. at the Town Hall, located at 645 Beacon Light Road, Monument. If the meeting falls on a holiday, it will be held the following Tuesday. See townofmonument.org for agendas and supporting documents. Marlene Brown can be reached at marlenebrown@ocn.me. Above, the location of the Beacon Light water tank annexation is shown in red. Map courtesy the Town of Monument. Monument Planning Commission, March 11, Balancing Growth and the Joy of Being Here, Planning Commission recommends approval of auto dealership and fire training facility. By Janet Sellers. The Monument Planning Commission convened on March 11 to review significant land use developments and administrative updates. The session was led by Chair Ray Egley, with Commissioners Donna Hatch, John Parr, and Martin Trujillo in attendance, establishing a quorum. Alpine Buick dealership at Falcon Commerce Center. The primary focus of the meeting was the application for the Alpine Buick GMC dealership, a project involving both a final plat and a final planned unit development (PUD) plan for an automotive sales and service dealership. The proposed project spans 12.5 acres located in Phase 2 of the Falcon Commerce Center at the southeast corner of Terrazzo Drive and West Baptist Road, behind the Pilot Travel Center. The facility features two main buildings. Building A would face Terrazzo Drive to create a strong street frontage, while Building B for service and parts would be set farther back. The landscaping strategy is designed to balance town requirements with business needs. Trees and shrubs will screen about 2/3 of the site, primarily the inventory parking, while keeping the southeastern corner open for vehicle displays visible to the public. Engineering plans were verified to comply with both monument standards and Colorado Springs drainage criteria. Monument Fire Training Facility. The Commission recommended approval, 3-1, for a final plat and rezoning to Public Facilities, PF, for a new fire training facility at 18650 West Highway 105. The project includes a classroom/garage building and a 4-story training tower. Commissioner John Parr provided the sole no vote. While acknowledging the facility's necessity, he expressed concern over its proximity to residential areas and the impact on the joy of being here for long-term residents and the aging population. This project also prompted a broader discussion on community aesthetics. The Commission scheduled a future workshop, likely leading off the April 8 meeting, to establish design standards for metal structures to ensure future developments remain consistent with monuments' visual character. Administrative and policy updates. Senior Planner Jenna Gorney introduced reformatted staff reports, a direct result of recent workshop feedback. These reports provide more granular detail on review criteria to assist the Commission in making more precise, objective recommendations to the Town Council. Community Relations. During closing remarks, there was a strong push for the community and Commission members to participate in Coffee with a Cop sessions. The discussion touched upon the importance of regional cooperation in emergency operations and law enforcement training, specifically noting partnerships with Colorado Springs and nearby municipalities. The Planning Commission usually meets on the second Wednesday of each month. The next meeting is scheduled for April 8. For further information, please visit www.townofmonument.org/263/planning-commission-board-of-adjustment or contact 719-884-8028. A recording with a transcript of each meeting is also available online. Janet Sellers can be reached at janetsellers@ocn.me. Monument Fire District, March 25, District breaks ground for new Station 3. By Natalie Barsh. At the Tri-Lakes Monument Fire Protection District, TLMFPD, DBA Monument Fire District, MFD, meeting via Microsoft Teams on March 25, the board heard the district had held a groundbreaking ceremony for the Station 3 rebuild, approved the authorization for a quit-claim deed for the property at 15,000 Sun Hills Drive, and received public comments regarding concerns about the future Station 1 Training Center tower. A life-saving award ceremony was held in the apparatus bay at Station 1 as the first item on the meeting agenda. See photo above. The board held an executive session to discuss possibly providing services outside of the service area boundaries. Quit-claim deed. Fire Chief Andy Kovacs requested board approval of Resolution 2026-2004, authorizing and executing a quit-claim deed for the property at 15,000 Sun Hills Drive, making the property owned by former board director Charles Fleeceholm. The property parcel was originally subdivided and donated by the previous property owner, a former fire chief of the Donald Westcott Fire Protection District, for the purpose of building a fire station. There is no longer any logistical need for the Sun Hills property to be retained now that the district has plenty of storage at the rental property at 19775 Mitchell Avenue. A water line break occurred during a recent cold snap, and the building is becoming expensive to maintain, said Kovacs. Emergency Incident Support, EIS, President Dennis Song said his organization had removed all of its vehicles and equipment, and he thanked the district for its support. Division Chief of Operations Janaka Brandon thanked EIS for the ongoing support during district training events and the annual youth camps. The board approved the authorization 6-1. John Hildebrandt recused himself due to his volunteer service with EIS. Fire Station 3 groundbreaking. Chief of Administration Jamie Bumgarner said the groundbreaking for the rebuild of Fire Station 3 took place at 17320 Jackson Creek Parkway, north of the Tri-Lakes YMCA. The notice for Flintco LLC to proceed will likely take place within 2 weeks, and the rebuild is expected to take about 12 months to complete. For further details about the site, see the WWSD article on page 12 and related photo above. Station 1 Training Center burn concerns addressed. Resident Gene Huisman voiced concerns about the proposed Station 1 Training Center 3-story tower and said, at the Monument Planning Commission, MPC, meeting on March 11 the proposed training tower for the Station 1 Training Center was stated to be a Class A and B burn facility, 4-storied and no longer 3, and that was unbeknownst to the residents. Huisman continued, at the Town Hall on April 18, 2024, the proposed training tower was slated to be a Class B training tower with fake smoke. He said, I am downwind of the site and severely allergic to smoke, and shocked that the department would be able to burn any type of materials with residential neighbors behind the station within 30 to 50 yards. See https://wp. ocn.me/v24n5mfd/townhall and the MPC article on page 10. President Mark Gunderman said technically the district could use the tower for both Class A and B burning, and he deferred comments to the fire chiefs. Kovacs said the training tower would be installed in early fall and will burn Class A natural combustibles such as wood and Class B natural gas. Most of the training will use theatrical smoke and movable waterproof LED light boards that simulate a fire extinguished when water is applied. The district no longer has the option to use the Colorado Springs Fire Department, CSFD, training facility for live fire or recruit training. The district is partnering with Pikes Peak State College, PPSC, in collaboration with its Fire Academy, and the other 2 options are, Black Forest Fire/Rescue Protection District, an unapproved training facility, and the Air Force Academy's Class A training facility, but the district has no control over access, especially so in light of the current situation in the Middle East, said Kovacs. In a Class A live fire training scenario, a safety and training plan is required with a training chief, 5 to 7 instructors/safety officers, and additional hose lines to protect the staff. Any smoke would be extinguished quickly with less smoke than a residential chimney, and training days would take place about 2 or 3 times per year. Other agencies will also be invited to use the facility at the same time as the district organizes live fire training, said Kovacs. Huisman requested the live fire training schedule in writing. Gunderman said the district cannot tie its hands to any type of commitment, firefighters require constant training, and the board has decided not to rely on other agencies to train staff and to allow the district to be self-sufficient, keeping staff within its boundaries. Kovacs said the firefighters are excited for the training tower as recommended in the feasibility study performed during the merger process with DWFPD. It is hoped that crews will train regularly, with vehicle extrication and additional classrooms to run the Fire Academy, making firefighters more proficient in a simulated experience with low visibility, smoke, and heat in the training tower. Huisman asked if the retention pond capturing water will be contaminated with burn matter after training. Kovacs said the water will be scrubbed and filtered before entering the retention pond, and having served 30 years at a previous district, no complaints were ever received from residents. The training center may partner with PPSC to provide some financial support in conjunction with the Fire Academy partnership, along with some fees to cover supplies from other departments using the facility. Director Mike Smaldino said CSFD had reverted to a Class A training tower after 20 years, with the majority being Class B training to avoid excessive cleaning and laundering of the firefighter turnout gear and equipment. National Firefighter Protection Association standards are maintained, and hopefully the training center will be in use regularly for drills without fire, and mostly burns using a limited number of pallets of hay to keep the heat down. The Class A tower allows for complete training to ensure muscle memory, but not 365 days, 24 hours per day, said Smaldino. Bumgarner said the Fire Station 1 Training Center site development plan had been approved after a public hearing, in a 3-to-1 vote by the MPC. A final public hearing is scheduled with the Town Council at the Town Chambers on April 6. If approved, site grading will begin, and the tower structure is expected to be in place by the end of September or early October. Training could commence in November. Recruitment update. Kovacs said the executive recruitment for the fire chief position was underway by Prothman Executive Recruitment. It had received about a dozen candidates so far, with a broad swath of applicants from Colorado and across the nation. The candidate interview process begins in April to select about 5 finalists to be hosted in May 12 to 13 by the district, said Kovacs. At the October meeting, Kovacs announced his plan to retire from the fire service at the end of 2026. Financial update. Kovacs delivered the financial report and said the district was at 16.6% of the total budget year to date as of February 28, and he highlighted some of the following from the financial report. The combined overall income received year to date was about $1 million, which was 4.12% of the projected income revenue for 2026 set at about $24 million. Overall expenses were about $3.466 million, which was 15.77% of the projected expense budget set at about $21.984 million. The total checking/savings was about $32 million, with about $7.835 million in the operations/general fund. The balance includes loan proceeds of about $18.133 million in Bank of Oklahoma financing for the Fire Station 3 rebuild. Kovacs said the district was notified by the El Paso County Assessor's Office that the expected bulk of property tax revenue typically received in March is slightly delayed for 2026. The 26 electronic transactions were appropriate and within budget. Of note were $33,598 for Motorola radios, $385,017 for a snowcat, $295,933 for a water tender, $82,768 for 2 Ford Mavericks for the community risk reduction staff, and $8,234 for Station 2 roof repairs. The board unanimously accepted the financial report as presented. Director Steve Phillips has accepted the position of treasurer. Chief's recognition. Kovacs congratulated Brandon for recently completing his Chief Fire Officer designation from the Center of Public Safety Excellence. He also announced Division Chief of Community Risk Reduction Jonathan Bradley and Brandon had completed site assessor training and will be assessing other agencies in support of agencies seeking accreditation. Mitigation. Director Andre Mouton thanked Bradley for the chipping program, and said he was seeing mitigation activity in neighborhoods that had been absent for 10 years. See snapshot on page 20. Bradley said the Colorado Wildfire Resiliency Code was being reviewed and would be adopted July 1. 4th Annual Youth Camp. Brandon announced the 4th Annual Youth Camp was scheduled for May 28 to 30, and said the camp will allow up to 15 students ages 16 to 19 or recent high school graduates to participate. Past participants have had hiring success with South Metro Fire Rescue, Denver. The Chief's reports and the 2025 annual report can be viewed at www.monumentfire.org. Executive Session. The board moved into an executive session at about 6 p.m. to discuss the possible provision of services outside of the service area boundaries. Director of Administration Jennifer Martin confirmed to this reporter that when the board returned to the regular meeting, no decisions were made and the meeting promptly adjourned. Meetings are usually held on the 4th Wednesday of every month. The next regular meeting is scheduled for April 22 at 4:30 p.m. at Station 1, 18650 Highway 105. For Microsoft Teams virtual joining instructions, agendas, minutes, and updates, visit www.monumentfire.org or contact Director of Administration Jennifer Martin at 719-484-9011. Natalie Barsh can be reached at nataliebarsh@ocn.me. Shiloh Pines Wildfire Preparedness Meeting, March 7. Healthy trees are vital to wildfire fuel reduction. By Lisa Hatfield. Forester Dave Root taught Shiloh Pines residents how to have a healthy forest and do fuels reduction to lessen wildfire risk, saying, "When you do one, you get the other." Because of a century of fire suppression, we have a very unnatural, overly dense forest. For example, Palmer Lake in 1880 had hardly any trees at all, but now it's surrounded by thick stands of unhealthy trees. Root said wildfires are a natural occurrence, but the combination of a century of fuel built up in the woods with no small fires allowed to clear it out, and homes built in the middle of the trees, creates the severe problem we have today. He said you need to actively manage your forest. Identify the most vigorous trees that receive enough sunlight and water to be strong and resist disease and insects. Then remove all the unhealthy, scraggly, lopsided trees, resulting in an open forest made of vigorous trees. The best prevention against mountain pine beetle (MPB) attacks is to have a healthy, historically accurate forest full of strong trees. They will resist the beetle attacks with big, pitch-out tubes. However, if your trees are overcrowded, starved for sunlight, thirsty, or infected with other parasites like dwarf mistletoe, you will see MPB's multiple popcorn-shaped resin masses all over the trunk, and the blue stain fungus carried by the MPB can kill the tree. Meanwhile, the beetles can spread to neighboring trees. The only effective MPB treatments are tree removal, mechanical, or solar treatments. If you have infected trees, read here first how to treat them properly without spreading the problem further. See https://csfs.colorado-state.edu/forest-management/common-forest-insects-diseases/mountain-pine-beetle/. Contact the Colorado State Forest Service with questions about your forest health or wildfire risk on your property. Lisa Hatfield can be reached at lisahatfield@ocn.me. Woodmoor Water and Sanitation District, March 9, Board deals with 100,000-gallon water loss. By James Howell. The Woodmoor Water and Sanitation District, WWSD, Board heard a request from Woodmoor Village LLC, also known as the Mines Shopping Center, MSC, to provide supplemental water and to annul a charge of $8,481 for exceeding its allowed water service. The board also considered an agreement with the Monument Fire District, MFD, to purchase its building on Woodmoor Drive, which is to be replaced by a new fire station on Jackson Creek Parkway, and a second agreement with MFD to provide supplemental water service to the new station. The board vacated a flowage easement at the proposed North Bay at Woodmoor development and amended its lease with Apollo's Peak Solar LLC. The board agreed to allow Monument Junction Metropolitan District, MJMD, to defer payment on its supplemental water service agreement. The board heard financial and operational reports, and the meeting ended with an executive session. Supplemental water approved, charge for lost water discounted. Greg Nagel, owner of MSC, located just north of Lake Woodmoor Drive, asked to purchase an additional half-acre foot of supplemental water for $17,250 per year, and asked the district to waive an invoice for $8,481 that resulted from the center exceeding its current supplemental water allotment. Supplemental water is charged at a much higher rate than the standard allotment of 1/2 acre-foot of water per acre of land. Director Tom Rodham recused himself from the discussion because his business is a tenant of the shopping center. Nagel told the board that the excessive water use resulted from an equipment failure at the Goat Patch Brewery, a new tenant that replaced Pikes Peak Brewing. 100,000 gallons of water were lost when a float failed, he said. The resulting invoice was equal to 30% of the shopping center's annual water bill, which Nagel argued was too high. Board President Brian Bush asked District Manager Jesse Schaefer how this situation had been handled in the past. Schaefer said the district had reduced similar bills for overuse in the past and went on to provide some history of the district's history with the shopping center. He said MSC had purchased an option for 4.8 acre-feet of supplemental water in 2017. MSC executed 1.24 acre-feet of its option the same year, and in 2019 added 0.4 acre-feet, leaving 3.16 acre-feet available. Then, to reduce the cost of its option, MSC asked to relinquish portions of it 3 times and finally, in 2021, asked to cancel the remaining option altogether. In addition, Schaefer said, MSC elected to use its own method to calculate its future supplemental water need rather than using the methodology provided by the district. When customers make that choice, Schaefer explained, the district expects them to accept the consequences of their alternative methodology. The overage fee is 1.65 times the cost of the excess water used. Schaefer said the board should consider recovering from MSC the revenue lost on the carrying charges of the option due to MSC's cancellation, which he calculated to be $4,625. Had MSC retained its option for supplemental water, it would have avoided the surcharge that resulted in the invoice. When MSC cancelled its option, Schaefer pointed out, it assumed additional risk. Other customers pay their annual option fee to avoid the risk of exceeding their supplemental allotment. Bush suggested selling MSC the 1/2 acre-foot of supplemental water it requested for $17,250 per year and recovering the lost option costs of $4,625, which would reduce MSC's liability for the lost water by $3,856.65. The board voted unanimously to implement Bush's suggestion. WWSD to purchase fire station. Schaefer told the board that the district had offered to buy MFD's building at 1855 Woodmoor Drive, adjacent to the WWSD headquarters building, for $1.26 million. Fire Chief Andy Kovacs took the offer to MFD's board of directors, which authorized execution of the agreement. Schaefer said the WWSD board needed to accept the agreement as complete, and Rodham made a motion to do so. The board approved the motion unanimously. The board also approved a supplemental water agreement for the new fire station on Jackson Creek Parkway, just north of the YMCA. The agreement calls for the district to provide an additional 2.7 acre-feet of water per year to the new station, at an annual cost of $104,138.25. Flowage easement vacated. The board voted unanimously to partially vacate a flowage easement in the North Bay at Woodmoor, a 6 single-family residence development planned for a site just north of Lake Woodmoor. A flowage easement is a legal claim on a property that allows another party to use a portion of the land for water management purposes, including flooding the property as needed. Bush said the easement was no longer needed due to determinations of water levels in the lake. Solar lease extended. Schaefer asked the board to amend its lease allowing Apollo's Peak Solar LLC to use a portion of the district's Woodmoor Ranch as a location for a solar array. The amendment formalizes a 60-day extension of the lease, which is needed to allow new business terms to be drafted into the agreement. Tamara Seaver, WWSD's attorney, said that because the lease was originally signed with Enerfin Renewables LLC and then transferred to Apollo's Peak, she wanted written affirmation that the transfer, or any future transfer, is allowed by the terms of the lease. She said she wanted to ensure that Apollo's Peak is bound by the original terms of the lease. The board voted unanimously to accept the amendment to the lease. MJMD gets more time to pay. Schaefer told the board that the terms of the district supplemental water agreement with MJMD gave it 1 year to put the supplemental water to beneficial use. MJMD did not meet this time limit, and the price of its supplemental water increased during the interim, creating a large differential in price. Schaefer asked the board to allow MJMD to defer payment for its supplemental water until December 2026, by which time it would know more about the commercial developments on its property. The board voted to defer the payment. Financial and operational reports. Director Roy Martinez gave the board a financial report on behalf of Board Treasurer Dana Franson, who was excused from the meeting. Martinez said January was a good month. Water sales were budgeted at 2% but came in ahead of expectations at 5.16%. Tap fees, which were budgeted at 6%, came in at 12.5%. In his water report, Operations Superintendent Dan LaFontaine said that the warmer-than-usual winter temperatures were contributing to line breaks by increasing ground movement, which typically is low during the winter months. Executive session. The meeting ended with an executive session regarding the purchase or sale of real property and to receive legal advice on agreements with El Paso County and Lake Woodmoor Holdings LLC. No action was taken following the executive session. The next meeting is on April 13 at 1 p.m. Meetings are usually held on the second Monday of each month at 1 p.m. at the district office at 1845 Woodmoor Drive. Please see www.woodmoorwater.com or call 719-488-2525 to verify meeting times and locations. James Howell can be reached at jameshowell@ocn.me. Monument Sanitation District, March 18, Delinquent Account Notices Sent. By Jackie Burr Hans and James Howell. In his manager's report, Monument Sanitation District Manager Mark Parker told the board that a higher-than-usual number of delinquent account notices were sent in March. He also gave updates on maintenance work done on the district's headquarters building and on the work being done by the El Paso County Department of Transportation on Beacon Light Road. Customers slow to update automatic payments. Parker told the board that the district sent 115 delinquent account notices in March. Accounts are delinquent when no payment has been made in 3 months or when the balance due exceeds the said amount. Parker said many of the delinquent accounts resulted from customers not updating their automatic payments when the district increased its monthly charge from $40 to $45 more than a year ago. Customers who did not increase their automatic payments owe the district a $5 monthly late fee in addition to the $5 monthly increase. Only one customer is contesting the late fees, claiming that they were not properly notified, Parker said. Cafe air intake replaced. Parker said the air intake for the furnace at the Black Forest Foods Cafe and Deli, a tenant in the MSD headquarters, was replaced to address accumulated grease. The intake was a flexible tube, and the HVAC company recommended replacing it with a sheet metal duct that would be possible to clean. Beacon Light Road work. Parker told the board he was continuing to attend meetings between utility providers and El Paso County to coordinate the work being done on Beacon Light Road. He added that there was no new information regarding the planned installation of a sewer line to service the site of the proposed Buc-ee's Travel Center. Monument Sanitation District meetings are held at 9 a.m. on the third Wednesday of the month in the District Conference Room at 132nd Street, Monument. The next regular meeting is scheduled for April 15th. See monumentsanitationdistrict.org. For a district service map, see www.monumentsanitationdistrict.org/district-map. For information, 719-481-4886. Jackie Burr-Hans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. James Howell can be reached at jameshowell@ocn.me. Donala Water and Sanitation District, March 19, District weighs financial trends and capital project impacts. By James Howell and Jackie Burr-Hans. In March, the Donala Water and Sanitation District, DWSD, Board reviewed financial trends and potential capital projects and how they might impact debt and rates. It also heard updates on hiring a new general manager, discussed upcoming rate changes, reviewed the election calendar to consider putting increased debt on the ballot, and signed a Memorandum of Understanding (MOU) with a fire mitigation company. Financial trends. Interim General Manager Christina Hawker introduced new budget charts to provide a quick financial snapshot. The first chart showed revenues and expenses are progressing relative to the annual budget for both water and wastewater. All financial activity is within expectations for the year, she said. The second chart showed a 7-year comparison of water usage to help monitor consumption throughout the year, she said. Board Director Kenneth Judd noted that there was clear downward trend in water sales. Hawker said the average is 750 acre-feet per year and that a lot of customers were xeriscaping and not watering as much in the summer. Water consultant Brett Gracely of Plummer said that as he drives through Donala's service area, he sees residents replacing portions of their lawn that are hard to keep green with mulch and rock. He also said that an earlier survey of appliance stores indicated strong demand for front-load washers, and only low-flush toilets are no longer available to purchase. With over 2,700 customers, that is what is driving water usage down, he said. Judd said it would be prudent to develop a strategy to deal with declining revenue. President Wayne Vanderschwer suggested this become an agenda item for the Strategic Planning Workshop on March 26. Capital projects. Vanderschwer said DWSD had received a term sheet outlining the cost of Northern Monument Creek Interceptor, NMCI, participation. The total cost would be $90 million, to be shared among all participants, and DWSD would require voter approval to increase borrowing capacity to cover its share of construction and ongoing operating costs, which would be about $11 million. Hawker reported that Colorado Springs Utilities said DWSD can formally request to join NMCI at any time. Once a request is made, current participants will meet within 30 days to consider negotiations, and DWSD would be responsible for the additional permitting required by the National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA. Hawker said she had been working with rate consultants to project rate changes due to 4 major infrastructure projects, including the Loop Indirect Potable Water Reuse, NMCI, and sole operations of the Upper Monument Creek Regional Wastewater Treatment Facility, UMCRWWTF. Given the complexity, Hawker said she would need more time to provide a more accurate picture of the financial implications of each of the projects. She expects to have additional information by the next board meeting. Note, DWSD operates the UMCRWWTF, which currently includes Triview Metropolitan District, TMD, and Forest Lakes Metropolitan District, FLMD, as additional users who share the operational costs proportionally to their use. TMD and FLMD have expressed interest in NMCI, which would leave DWSD bearing the full price of running UMCRWWTF far below its capacity. Consultant Roger Sams from GMS estimated that DWSD's costs would rise from $800,000 to around $2.5 million in the first year, if TMD and FLMD pull out. Vanderschwer said the board would need to try to connect all of these disparate but intersecting options at the strategic workshop. Progress on hiring general manager. Judd said that 14 resumes had been submitted for the general manager position, and he and Deerdorf had analyzed them separately, both coming up with the same 4 names as finalists. Their criteria included relevant experience, total years of work experience, local network connections and management experience. Judd recommended that all 4 applicants be interviewed on the same day, yielding 1 or 2 candidates who would be submitted for background checks. Vandersweer scheduled the interviews for a special board meeting on March 27, with a final decision to be made at a special board meeting on April 7. April water bills to include new rates. Vandersweer noted that the increased rates would appear on the April bills. Billing Administrator Ashley Uren noted there is a 5% increase across the board for the base and tiered usage rates for water and wastewater. Board member Kevin Deerdorf noted the wastewater increase averages around $2. Hawker said there was a chart on the web as a quick reference, see https://tinyurl.com/Donala-2026 rates. Election calendar. Hawker highlighted key dates and actions needed to put a debt service increase out to vote this November. DWSD would need to notify the county clerk and recorder that formal action has been taken to participate by July 24. DWSD would need to adopt a resolution by August and ballot content would need to be certified by September. Hawker noted that the timeline is very short and there might not be enough time to reach out to the community to communicate important needs. She recommended considering the May 2027 special district election instead to give more time for engagement and education. She did not yet have the full election calendar beyond needing to certify the ballot by the first Friday in March 2027. Vandersweer said the board would talk about this at the strategy workshop. MOU signed for Willow Creek Ranch fire mitigation. Hawker reported that the Arkansas River Watershed Collaborative, which presented a proposal for fire mitigation at DWSD's Willow Creek Ranch property with a 50% match, asked for an MOU to provide a framework for cooperation and indicate intent. The MOU is not binding until a final contract is executed, she said. She estimated the cost, at the high end, would be $2,000 per acre for the portion to be mitigated, totaling $280,000 of which Donala would pay $140,000. Hawker noted that money set aside for cleaning Well 9A in anticipation of the Aquifer Storage and Recovery Pilot Study is eligible for a cash match grant from the Colorado Wildlife Conservation Project, which would free up funds for Willow Creek mitigation. Vandersweer directed Hawker to look for other sources of funds to cover Donala's portion. The board unanimously voted to sign the MOU. The work would start later in the summer or fall, Vandersweer said. The next regular board meeting is on Tuesday, April 16 at 1:30 p.m. Generally, board meetings are held the third Thursday of the month at 1:30 p.m. and include online access. Call 719-488-3603 or access www.donalawater.org to receive up-to-date meeting information. The district office is located at 15850 Holbein Drive, Colorado Springs. James Howell can be reached at jameshowell@ocn.me. Jackie Burr-Hans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. Triview Metropolitan District, March 19, Northern Monument Creek Interceptor set to ramp up. By Natalie Barsh. At the Triview Metropolitan District, TMD, regular meeting on March 19, the board received updates on the Northern Monument Creek Interceptor, NMCI, project timelines, the Higbee Road Improvement Project, and on water storage levels. The board held an executive session regarding the potential participation in the NMCI project and the acquisition of property for open space and parks. NMCI project update. The NMCI project is a proposed 10.1-mile pipeline that would transport untreated wastewater from TMD and Forest Lakes Metropolitan District, FLMD, to the Colorado Springs Utilities, CSU, J.D. Phillips Water Resource Recovery Facility, near I-25 and Garden of the Gods Road, for processing. District Manager Jim McGrady said about $33 million in bonds for the NMCI construction cost sharing with FLMD for the northern entity's portion of the project would be presented to the board for approval at the May meeting. The construction phase of the NMCI project was expected to be slow, but CSU will ramp up aggressively with construction beginning in late May. The first 6 months of construction will spend 40% of the total cost, beginning on the south end of the pipeline in Colorado Springs. The pipeline is expected to be completed in late 2027, said McGrady. The board approved an addendum moving the project from the design phase to the construction phase at the February meeting. The agreement provides a 99-year contract per term for the treatment of the district's wastewater and allows ownership in the pipeline to provide an asset for financing the project via bonds from the enterprise fund. See https://wp ocn.me/v26n3tmd. Water Operations Update. McGrady said that despite the regional low snowpack and the anticipation of lower-than-average spring runoff, the district has 2 years of water in storage to meet district demands. The district uses a complex number of water exchanges to obtain its water rights, but ultimately receives its water via CSU through 2 different points of entry, Twin Lakes and the Otero Pump Station at Rampart Range Reservoir. The water is treated and conveyed to the CSU tank off Highway 83 before entering the district-owned Northern Delivery System, NDS. Water Treatment Superintendent Gary Potter said the D7 well had received a new pump and motor, and the A7 well work was waiting to be scheduled. The NDS was recently placed offline due to a CSU outage that allowed the utilization of district wells. The February report stated the NDS produced 46% of the district's water, with the remainder sourced from the district's wells for a total of about 14.947 million gallons. The district sold about 14.005 million gallons to customers, leaving 941,841 gallons or about 4.15% of non-revenue, unbilled, water. The district had 18.53% unbilled water in February 2025. Higbee Road Improvement Update. McGrady said that during the construction of the Higbee Road Improvement Project, it would be cost-effective to have Quilt include an acceleration lane to join Jackson Creek Parkway, JCP, north from Higbee Road west. He said utilities run under the intersection of JCP and Higbee Road, and the town is using Felsberg Holt and Ullevig, FHU, civil engineering company for the design of JCP North. FHU would need to consult with Kimley-Horn to find a solution to include the acceleration lane in the design before mid-April. A cost recovery agreement would also need to be finalized to allow TMD to initially fund the acceleration lane. The additional lane would be a cost reduction for the town of Monument, Tom, with Quilt already on site, said McGrady. Town Councilor Kenneth Kimple said the Tom did not have the funding to widen all of JCP in one fiscal year. The northern portion is scheduled to be completed first, and the southern portion would be completed in conjunction with the rebuild of Fire Station 3 in 2027. The board consented to pursuing a cost recovery agreement for an acceleration lane to be approved at a later meeting. Sheffield said the Higbee Road Improvement Project Phase 1 work was scheduled to begin on March 23, with the first road closures between Cloverleaf and Harness Roads. Quilt expects to complete the project in November 2026. Note: message boards providing updates on the project and a link to the road closures and detours are available at https://triviewhigbyroad.com. Mitigation and Fire Code Changes. Kimple said Monument Fire District Division Chief of Community Risk Reduction Jonathan Bradley had presented the proposed changes to the International Fire Code and Colorado Wildfire Resiliency Code to the Town Council, and he noted a mitigation change relating to split rail fences that attach to homes. McGrady said the district was considering replacing the common area with split rail fences with concrete fencing that is virtually the same price as wood fence replacement. An example can be viewed on Gleneagle Drive on the east side of the Little Train Park. The project is massive and requires a multi-year approach beginning with the 2027 budget. President Jason Gross said he had given an overview presentation of the district at the March NEPCO meeting, but the district had no HOA representation. The Sanctuary Point subdivision is well mitigated. Unfortunately, it is smack up against unmitigated homes. See NEPCO article on page 15. District Office Relocation. Assistant Manager Steve Sheffield said, "Kudos to the staff for making the move to the district office building almost complete. The move was stressful, but everyone chipped in." McGrady said the district is operating from the new district-owned building, saving the district about $5,000 per month on rent. The old facility lease was ending, necessitating a move, but all operations are now consolidated, and the staff can work cohesively. District Administrator Sarah Lamb said, "Kudos to McGrady for completing a commercial building in 9 months." The district has permanently moved to the district-owned new Utility Operations and Administration Office at 1641 Baja Drive, Monument, with temporary access via Old Denver Road. Venison Creek Park Construction. Parks and Open Spaces Superintendent Matt Reno announced the New Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, play area in Venison Creek Park had been installed, and the ASTM/ADA compliant porous rubber shock absorbing base layer with a wear-resistant top layer play surface would be installed the weekend of March 21st to 22nd. The play surface is low maintenance and designed for 15 to 20 years of usage. A seating wall will also be added with additional shrubs and landscaping. The park will remain closed for the next 2 to 3 weeks until the construction is complete. Gross requested a ribbon-cutting event at the park upon completion. Executive session. The board moved into executive session at about 8:20 p.m. to receive legal advice pursuant to Section 24-6-402, 4E, Colorado Revised Statutes, CRS, for the purposes of determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategies for negotiations, and instructing negotiators as it relates to the potential participation in the NMCI and the acquisition of property for open space and parks. Sheffield confirmed to this reporter that no decisions were made when the board returned to the regular session. The meeting adjourned at 9:36 p.m. Meetings are usually held on the third Thursday of the month at the district office located at 1641 Baja Drive, West Baptist Road, with temporary access via Old Denver Road. The next regular board meeting is scheduled for April 23 at 5:30 p.m. For Zoom meeting joining instructions, meeting agendas, minutes, and updates, visit https://triviewmetro.com. Natalie Barsh can be reached at nataliebarsh@ocn.me. El Paso County Regional Loop Water Authority, March 3 and 19, Board Awards and Amends Contracts. By James Howell. The El Paso County Regional Loop Water Authority, EPCRLWA, or the Loop, Board met twice in March. At a special meeting on March 3, the board discussed a contract to advance the design of the project's Advanced Water Treatment Plant, AWTP, to its final version. At its regular meeting on March 19, the board approved the design contract for the AWTP and approved non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, to be used with 4 existing and any future contractors. It also amended its contract with CDM Smith and put in place a cost order change to its contract with Western States Land Services LLC. Corbin from and Company, the Loop's accounting firm, submitted a brief financial report. AWTP Final Design Contract. The preliminary design for the AWTP, done by Burns and McDonnell, specified a treatment protocol that includes sedimentation, ultrafiltration using membranes, granular activated carbon, reverse osmosis, and alkalinity adjustment and chlorination. At its special meeting, the board awarded a contract for a more detailed design, based on Burns and McDonnell's work, to JVA Incorporated, pending legal review of the contract. Earlier, JVA did the water quality testing on which Burns and McDonnell based its design. At its regular meeting, the board voted unanimously to award the contract to JVA. NDAs approved. Loop attorney Nicole Payove told the board she had prepared NDAs for use with JVA, CDM Smith, Brearley Associates LLC and Pinion Environmental Incorporated. The board authorized Rebecca Hutchinson, the Loop's interim workflow manager, to send the NDAs to the 4 contractors mentioned above and to any new contractors that join the project. Contracts amended. The board voted to amend its contract with CDM Smith, the company working to expand the Callahan Reservoir, adding detail to the embankment, spillway, and outlet works design. The amendments also detail the design drawings that will be required to meet the terms of the contract. Western States Land Services is acquiring the easements needed for the 52 miles of pipeline that will convey the Loop's water from Fountain Creek to customers in the participating districts. Western States originally estimated 12 easements would be needed, but increased that number to 66, requiring more title work. The board approved a cost order change of $66,000 to cover the increased scope of work. Financial report. From told the board invoices totaling $298,000 had been received in February. The board authorized payment. From said the Loop had received reimbursement for its Q3 2025 expenses from the El Paso Board of County Commissioners, which is responsible for disbursing a total of $4 million in American Recovery Plan Act funds to the Loop. From said he had submitted the expenses for Q4 2025. From said the Loop's cash reserves were just over $600,000. The next regular meeting is scheduled for April 16 at 9 a.m. Regular meetings are held on the third Thursday of each month at 9 a.m. at the Monument Town Hall at 645 Beacon Light Road. Please see loopwater.org or call 719-488-3603 to verify meeting times and locations. James Howell can be reached at jameshowell@ocn.me. El Paso Board of County Commissioners, March 17, Highway 105 easements approved. By Marlene Brown. During the March meetings and as the Pikes Peak Rural Transportation Authority, PPRTA, widening of Highway 105, also known as the Highway 105B project, continues moving east, the El Paso Board of County Commissioners, BOCC, approved temporary and permanent easements along Highway 105 Lake Woodmoor Drive to Martingale Drive. Easements will be used for construction, drainage, slope, and ingress and egress to the construction site. The owners have agreed to accept the Memorandum of Agreement, MOA, and the permanent easements and special warranty deed have been approved and compensation has been accepted. At the March 17 meeting, the BOCC approved the 2026 MOA for the Black Forest Slash and Mulch program. The program was started in 1995 by a group of volunteers on land leased from the State Board of Land Commissioners, adjacent to Herring Road, to accept slash. Slash is defined as tree debris, including branches, leaves, and pine needles. The slash is then ground into mulch, which is given away free of charge. The volunteers created a nonprofit corporation known as SAMCOM, Slash and Mulch Committee, in 2011 and have entered into the MOA every year since then. SAMCOM has successfully managed the program, which was approved by the BOCC for another year. The program promotes food forest health, effective long-term strategies, and wildfire hazard mitigation, which includes educating residents on reducing hazardous fuels on private land. The BOCC released the following statement on March 10 regarding Buc-ee's. Buc-ee's has not submitted an application to El Paso County for development, nor has any development application been submitted for the referenced property. We cannot speak to any intentions of Buc-ee's or the property owner. Property owners are not required to disclose their future plans for a property when requesting a boundary line adjustment or grading permit. Please direct any and all questions related to intentions to those parties. Property owners have the right to make decisions about their property, as long as they are following the law. The county follows processes to allow property owners to make changes to their property in compliance with the law. The county takes seriously its legal obligations and the rights of all interested parties, including respecting the constitutional private property rights of citizens. Under the law, property owners are entitled to a fair process where the Board of County Commissioners remains neutral, including no ex parte communication, prior to conducting a formal hearing where they review evidence and make a decision based on criteria previously established in the Land Development Code, https://planningdevelopment.elpaso.com/buc-ees/#. Monument waiver approved. The Town of Monument, TOM, requested approval of a waiver for an annexation impact report for 18.522 acres, consisting of about 1.67 miles of public right-of-way known as Beacon Light Road and Beacon Light Road Water Tank Site, also known as Lot 1 of the Tom Beacon Light Road Tank Subdivision Exemption Plat. Because of the annexation of the right-of-way and the municipal utility tank site, there is no extension of services, no district impacts, and no effect on schools, so no impact report is required. The resolution was approved by the BOCC, and the TOM can move forward with the annexation. Flying Horse North rezoning approved. Preliminary plan/planned unit development, a request by PRI No. 2, LLC care of Elite Properties of America, for approval of a map rezoning of 1,499.72 acres, Flying Horse North filings numbers 6 to 8. The preliminary plan shows 299 single-family lots, includes 91.5 acres of open space, and 26.3 acres of dedicated public right-of-way. The property is located at the southwest corner of the intersection of Black Forest Road and Hodgen Road. The request was approved, 5-0. The BOCC usually meets every Tuesday at 9 a.m. at 200 South Cascade Avenue Suite 100, Colorado Springs. The BOCC Land Use Committee meets on the second and fourth Thursdays as needed. Call 719-520-7276 for more information. Go to bocc.elpasoco.com or https://www.agendasuite.org/ip/elpaso for meeting schedules and agendas. Marlene Brown may be reached at marlenebrown@ocn.me. El Paso County Planning Commission, March 5 and 19. 2 requests recommended for approval. By Marlene Brown. At its regular bi-monthly meetings, the El Paso County Planning Commission, EPCPC, heard 2 requests regarding issues in northern El Paso County. On March 5, Red Rock Subdivision GTG Red Rock LLC requested approval of a 14.958-acre final plat creating 5 single-family lots. The site is south of Highway 105 between Red Rock Ranch Drive and Rockbrook Road. The requested lots have a minimum lot size of 2.5 acres and will be on individual wells and on-site septic systems. There was a request for continuance to March 19 for time to complete all conditions and reports. The EPCPC approved the request at the March 26 meeting for a hearing to be set for April 9 for the El Paso Board of County Commissioners, BOCC. On March 19, PRI No. 2 LLC care of Elite Properties of America requested approval of rezoning 1,499.72 acres for Flying Horse North Filing No. 6 to 8 planned unit development to include 299 single-family residential lots, and 4 tracts to include 91.5 acres of open space and 26.3 acres of land dedicated to public right-of-way. The EPCPC recommended approval, with all conditions having been met by the BOCC. The EPCPC normally meets on the first and third Monday of the month at 9 a.m. at 2880 International Circle, Suite 110, in Colorado Springs. At 9 a.m. You can also view hearings remotely at https://planning-development.elpasoco.com/planning-community-development/2025-hearings-schedule/. Marlene Brown can be contacted at marlenebrown@ocn.me. Northern El Paso County Coalition of Community Associations Incorporated, Monument, Triview officials share information. By Marlene Brown. The Northern El Paso County Coalition of Community Associations, NEPCO, held its bi-monthly meeting on March 14 at the Woodmoor Barn. NEPCO currently has 42 member homeowner associations, HOAs, with over 10,000 homes and over 20,000 voters within Northern El Paso County. NEPCO strives to provide meetings to facilitate communication between HOAs and state, county, and local government representatives. A few of Monument's Town Council and Planning Department members attended the meeting: Mayor Pro Tem Steve King and Councilmember Laura Cronick, Jenna Gorney, Senior Planner with the Monument Planning Department, and Assistant Manager of Triview Metropolitan District Steve Sheffield. The guest speakers were introduced: Dan Ungerlater, Director of the Monument Planning Department, and Jason Gross, Board President, Triview. Beth Longquist, Red Rock Ranch HOA and board member of NEPCO, presented Fire Preparedness. Colorado is moving into wildfire season, and the spread of wildfires can be slowed by home hardening and reducing fuels to a fire's spread with mitigation. Homes can be made fire-resistant by keeping the space between houses clear and limiting the presence of combustible materials. Keep grasses mowed under 4 inches, remove dead trees, and cut limbs up to 6 to 8 feet, she said. As Ungerlater spoke of the Monument Planning Department, he focused on the town's 2040 Comprehensive Plan. The last comprehensive plan was in 2017. Since then, the town has experienced population growth, development of new neighborhoods, turnover of staff in the planning department and in leadership at the town level. Monument has committed to a long-range policy to guide future development decisions over the next 10 to 15 years. The plan will focus on core community issues related to land use, including transportation, economic development, housing, and growth in a meaningful way to reflect a small-town character. For more details regarding the Comprehensive Plan 2040, see www.monument2040.com. Gross explained that Triview was formed in May 1985 to provide public services to Monument, including open spaces, roads, parks, and water. Currently, it has 2,595 water accounts. At full build-out, it is anticipated that there will be 3,226 single-family homes. Triview has 31 full-time employees, with Jim McGrady as the district manager. Under an intergovernmental agreement, IGA, with Monument, wastewater treatment services are provided by the Upper Monument Creek Wastewater Treatment Facility, which is co-owned by Triview, Donala Water and Sanitation District, and Forest Lake Metropolitan District. Under an annual contract, services are provided to Forest Lake's Metropolitan District for water treatment, utility operations, and parks and open space maintenance. Go to triviewmetro.com for more information. The Higbee Road Improvement Project started in March and is expected to be complete in November. The project covers 5,500 feet of Higbee Road from Jackson Creek Parkway to Harness Road, consists of 2 roundabouts, a center island, pedestrian crossings, and sidewalks on both the north and the south side of Higbee Road. For more project information, detours, and closings, go to triviewhigbyroad.com. Triview recently began moving to its new administration/utility building at 1641 Baja Drive in the Terrazzo/Baja Plan development. Harold Larson, NEPCO board member, thanked the speakers for their informative presentations and adjourned the meeting at 11:45 a.m. The next NEPCO meeting will be on May 9 at 10 a.m. at the Woodmoor Barn, 1691 Woodmoor Drive. For more information regarding future presentations and membership information for HOAs in the area, go to nepco.org. Marlene Brown can be contacted at marlenebrown@ocn.me. Gleneagle Civic Association, March 17, GCA reports board changes, seeks declaration of covenants approval. By David Feudy. On March 17, the Gleneagle Civic Association, GCA, board held its bi-monthly meeting at Antelope Trails Elementary School. The meeting included updates on board position changes and the board proceeding with a court petition to have a declaration of covenants approved through a Colorado Common Interest Ownership Act, CCIOA, provision. The declaration did not achieve the required 67% approval for passage in the 2025 GCA membership vote. Board members Mark Connell, President and Roads, Signs and Ditches Chair, Glenn Leimbach, Vice President and Open Space Manager, Steve Curry, Treasurer, and Ray Mickelwright, Secretary, were present. Jeff McLemore, Architectural Review Committee, ARC, Chair, was unable to attend. Connell introduced himself as the new GCA board president and updated other board changes. Connell stated that the previous GCA president, Jimmy Owenby, had to step down from the board. He introduced Ray Mickelwright as a new board member. Mickelwright is a Gleneagle resident who practiced law for the federal government for 20 years, serving mostly in overseas conflict posts. Though still a licensed attorney, Mickelwright stated, "I am not the attorney for the board, but I am using my background as a lawyer to help the board." Connell introduced Leimbach as board vice president. Leimbach said, "I am also the co-manager of the open space, which has been pretty quiet thus far this year." Leimbach then talked about the Mountain View Electric Association, MVEA, fiber optic installations and damage caused to some member properties. The board recommends contacting MVEA and submitting a claim if property damage occurs. A February 17 email from the board to members describes how to proceed with a claim. The board is petitioning the courts to approve the rewritten Declaration of Covenants and Short-Term Lease Amendment, which was voted on by members in 2025, through CCIOA Section 217. The assessment increase that was voted on by members is not part of this petition. The declaration received 60% member approval, but that was below the 67% threshold required in the current GCA covenants for passage. Section 217 provides a process where, if certain criteria are met, such as more than 50% of membership approving amending the Declaration of Covenants as occurred in the 2025 vote, the declaration can be approved through this petition. The board has engaged Altitude Community Law Firm to facilitate the petition through the courts. Curry said, "Out of 700 homes, we had 3/7 of the membership voting for the declaration, we had 1/7 of the membership voting against the declaration, and we have 3/7 of the membership not even voting at all. We did everything we could with engaging the membership in the declaration rewrite with town halls and the voting process. By pursuing the vote on the declarations and now this legal avenue through Section 217, Curry said the board wants to clean up the present declarations and amendments, some written as early as 1973, and make it easier for members to find information." Curry said the attorney informed him earlier in the day that everything looks good for the petition. The board had to provide a variety of documentation to the attorney, including emails to members, town hall information, returned ballots, and other information regarding the declaration and amendment voting process. GCA members will receive a notice in the mail about the petition so nobody's blindsided. The board decided to take this legal step at its January meeting. The declaration and amendment proceeding through the courts is the same as was voted on by the membership. Curry said, "We really do appreciate everyone who participated in the 2025 voting process. Whether you voted yes or no, we appreciate it because at least your voice was heard. But we didn't want to start all over again. Curry then summarized the declaration updating process, which started in January 2025. The short-term lease will be an amendment to the declaration. Connell said he attended the recent Northern El Paso County Coalition of Community Organizations, NEPCO, meeting. He said NEPCO has 42 HOAs as members and the meeting had 2 speakers, the Monument Planning Director and a speaker from the Triview Metropolitan District. Connell said, "It was a very interesting meeting, and he intends to summarize his notes and provide them at a future date." Connell talked about confronting individuals operating motorbikes on the Rayburg Open Space, RBOS. He took photos and contacted the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. He said this is becoming a pattern and reminded those in attendance of similar motorbike activity last year that ripped up part of the open space. He hopes the Sheriff's Office will engage the riders. A community member asked for clarification on what can be ridden on the open space trails. Electric bikes are permissible but not electric or gas-powered motorbikes. Connell said, "We are okay if it has pedals, and speeds 20-ish miles an hour, though he was unsure of the exact number, but it's in that neighborhood." Connell talked about being approached by Goodwill Industries International Incorporated. Goodwill is interested in collaborating with GCA on a donations day. He said the board discussed the opportunity and is considering it, but needs to develop that idea a little bit more. He mentioned possibly combining it with a monument area food bank. It is tentatively scheduled for some time in July or August, possibly from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on the chosen date. Curry followed with a financial update. He said, "We started the year kind of awkward because the ballot process with the related assessment vote was not finalized until December 22. Since the assessment increase ballot measure failed, the board approved a 5% increase as allowed within the covenants. The board then had to inform the membership with a 30-day notice before that increase went into effect. This, in turn, caused assessment letters to be delayed. The due date for assessment payments was February 1. Curry continued, "So we're into March, and our financials right now are not quite where they should be." He said there are only 58 homeowners out of 702 that have not paid their assessments. It was noted that several of the homeowners in arrears are repeat offenders. He said balanced bookkeeping's communications with members have been clear and straightforward, and they are doing a great job. Curry said that it is a slow time of the year, so we don't have many expenses at this time. The open space dog stations are being cleaned and emptied every other week, well worth the money for this being done. He said the insurance is due and has increased by $1,500. Other insurance companies were reviewed, but it was decided to stay with auto owners insurance. The annual insurance is now $4,500 with an umbrella policy at $1,100. There is also a $475 tax payment due. A 40-square-foot plot of land off Westchester was discussed as property tax might need to be paid on it. When the developer transitioned, this plot was not included in the donation to the association. It is not presently tax-exempt. The tax on it is $22, or the association needs to file for exemption, possibly yearly. Leimbach provided an update on the RBOS as 2 areas received attention. Near 14080 Gleneagle Drive, on the north side, about 100 yards were seeded and grass matted. On the open space, north of the windmill, is a large area that received topsoil and was seeded. The area was an old pit that was backfilled with broken asphalt and other material from the buildup near the original 14th hole. He then mentioned the MVA fiber project and possible damage to public and private property. He said one GCA member was really upset as trees were cut down and flower beds damaged. Regarding the Architectural Review Committee, Connell said that Macklemore has new volunteers for the committee and that he is evaluating several submissions. The following were discussed during member comments. A GCA member asked if it is possible to get the records for all the variances that apply to a property. They have been cited for an RV, a closed trailer, that has been on the property for over 25 years, and screening projects. The member said he will ask for a board hearing. Mickelwright provided information on how to submit for a hearing through the GCA website and that any recorded documents would be with the El Paso County Clerk's office, as a variance would be associated with the property. A GCA member asked if the board knew the status of a property at Rivers Oaks and Palma Valley. There is a car in a ditch, another car with a trailer, and a shed toward the front of the house. Connell said he would investigate it and provide the address to the Covenants Review Company, Centerpoint Management. A GCA member provided a lengthy update regarding noise abatement and ordinance legislation that is proceeding through the state legislature. They were one of 15 citizens who recently testified regarding noise impact from facilities such as the Ford Amphitheater. The member said for-profit entities that own such facilities across the state are trying to attain legislation where they receive the same noise ordinance benefit as non-profit entities. This legal controversy concerning noise ordinances originated with Hobbs v. City of Salida, 2024, which was a dispute regarding the city noise ordinance violating state standards in the Colorado Noise Abatement Act. If the legislation proceeds with Senate Bill 26-098, this might mean that noise from Colorado Springs venues impacting adjacent communities like Monument would be a legal issue between municipalities as opposed to being ruled by state law. The board closed the meeting and proceeded into an executive session at 7:20 p.m. David Feudy can be contacted davefeudy@ocn.me. Woodmoor Improvement Association, March 25, Public Safety Leadership Change. By Jackie Burr-Hans. The Woodmoor Improvement Association, WA, board met on March 25 to say goodbye to one Woodmoor Public Safety, WPS, chief and welcome a new one. It also heard residents' ideas for community dog waste stations, concerns about the pace of mitigation reimbursement, and director reports. WPS Chief Changeover. Director of Public Safety Brad Gleason reported that WPS Chief Kevin Nielsen's last day in office was March 26, with his last office day on Friday, March 27. Gleason said that after 35 years, he wanted to thank Nielsen for everything he had done for this organization and community. He wished Nielsen the very best. Gleason also introduced the new WPS chief, Darren Abink, saying WIA was excited to have Abink on the team. He comes with a wealth of knowledge and experience leading a private security team. He retired from the Colorado Springs Police Department after 22 years of service in 2017 at the rank of lieutenant. In the March newsletter, you can find a farewell letter from Nielsen and an introduction and biography of Chief Abink, https://tinyurl.com/wea-news-2603. Resident proposes expansion of dog waste stations. Resident Marty Froelich proposed expanding dog waste stations throughout the Woodmoor neighborhood to supplement the ones available in some of the common areas. He cited frequent encounters with bagged pet waste along the roadways during his runs and his wife's daily dog walks. He said other communities had this amenity and wondered if Woodmoor residents would support this. Froelich did an informal survey promoted throughout the neighborhood and on Nextdoor, garnering about 90 responses with 70% being in favor of the idea. He estimated installation costs at $250 to $300 per station, which could be covered by sponsors, and noted that the current monthly maintenance cost was about $66 per station. He suggested about 20 stations at high-traffic intersections along walking routes, including WA-owned parcels or other easements, saying that the El Paso County Public Works staff expressed a willingness to work with the association. Board members raised concerns about cost, effectiveness, and aesthetics, and President Brian Bush objected to the idea of sponsorship signage, noting that WAA seeks to maintain a natural character and avoid commercialization. Board member Jason Hen said installation and maintenance could exceed $15,000 annually and noted that the survey represented fewer than 3% of Woodmoor's residents. The board agreed that the proposal warrants further review but said it would need clearer cost estimates, written county approvals, and feedback from residents near proposed locations before committing funds. Froelich indicated he was willing to refine the proposal and gather additional input for the board to review at a later meeting. Wildfire mitigation reimbursement discussed. A Woodmoor resident criticized the pace of a state-funded wildfire mitigation reimbursement program and said delays have discouraged him from completing additional work on his property. Bush and Hen explained that WIA must first receive reimbursement from the state before issuing payments to residents. Han noted that the process is slow and complicated by state bureaucracy, noting that it had recently changed personnel and processes. Bush said Forestry Administrator Justin Gates had left his position in late January, and the new employee, Kelsey Spencer, began working on March 16 with volunteers covering the operational gaps during the transition. Han said participation in the grant program is voluntary and urged residents not to abandon mitigation efforts. Bush apologized for the delay, saying that staff would follow up and get an answer in the next few days. Highlights. Vice President. Homeowners Association, HOA, Administrator Denise Caliero reported on behalf of Vice President Peter Billy that WIA is starting to have problems with its phones and may need to buy new ones. Treasurer Bush reported for Treasurer Pete Giusti that revenues are down for barn rentals and project fees but may pick up depending on the economy. HOA Administrator Caliero reported that WIA hired Kelsey Spender as Covenants and Forestry Administrator. She also reported that the realtor who had sponsored the community garage sale for the last 20 years would not be doing it, so there won't be one unless someone takes their place. She reported sending 212 past due letters to residents. Covenants, Director Jennifer Davis reported 27 covenant items resulting in 0 violations. There were no hearings in February or March, with one upcoming hearing in April for 2 possible issues. She reminded residents that there is no dumping in common areas, including golf balls. Architectural Control, Director Ed Miller reported 21 project submissions in February, 19 of which were approved administratively and 2 by the Architectural Control Committee, which maintains an approval rate of 100% for the year. There are 35 projects for the year, which is a 12.5% decrease from 2025. Forestry, Director Henn said that WIA completed 7 forestry and firewise visits. Spencer is going through training on site visits and mitigation planning, with grant training scheduled for the following week. He noted that the grant fund has plenty of money. Chipping days are set for June 20th and 21st, and July 18th and 19th. Mountain View Electric Association, MVEA, is also doing a mulching day on Saturday, April 11th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the intersection of Oktoberfest Drive and Slopeside Street, which is free to MVEA customers. See https://tinyurl.com/mulch-madness. Common areas. Caliero reported for Director Steve Cutler that a picnic table at Toboggan Hill had been destroyed and would not be replaced. Bush asked that anyone seeing damage done to WIA property contact WPS at 719-499-9771. Easements granted. The board unanimously voted to grant 3 easements to the county for the Highway 105B project. The easements, for WIA property on the north side of Highway 105 near Furrow Road, were appraised at $81,200. The WIA Board of Directors usually meets at 7 p.m. on the 4th Wednesday of each month in the barn at 1691 Woodmoor Drive, Monument. The next meeting will be on April 22nd. The WIA calendar can be found at www.woodmoor.org/events/. Once approved and posted, the WIA board meeting minutes can be found at www.woodmoor.org/board-of-directors/. Jackie Burr Hans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. Between the covers at Covered Treasures Bookstore, our animal companions. By the staff at Covered Treasures. Happiness is a warm puppy. Charles M. Schultz. For decades, research has found that people who own pets tend to be healthier than people who don't. Pet ownership is associated with lower blood pressure, a reduced risk of cardiovascular disease, and lower rates of death after a heart attack or stroke. This month's review features books in which animals play a significant role. The Guest Cat. By Takashi Hyraid, translated by Eric Selland, New Directions Publishing, $14.95. A couple in their 30s live in a small, rented cottage in a quiet part of Tokyo. They work at home, freelance copy editing. They no longer have very much to say to one another. But one day, a cat invites itself into their small kitchen. It leaves, but the next day comes again, and then again and again. Soon they are buying treats for the cat and enjoying talks about the animal and all its little ways. Life suddenly seems to have more promise for the husband and wife. The days have more light, more color. The novel brims with instances of new small joys, but then something happens. The Elephant Whisperer. By Lawrence Anthony, with Graham Spence, Thomas Dunn Books, $20. When Lawrence Anthony was asked to accept a herd of rogue, wild elephants on his reserve in Zululand, his common sense told him to refuse. But he was the herd's last chance of survival, and to save their lives, he took them in. This is a heartwarming, exciting, funny, and sometimes sad book about Anthony's experiences with these huge African creatures. Running with Sherman. By Christopher McDougall, Vintage Books, $19. When Chris McDougall agreed to take in a donkey from an animal hoarder, he thought it would be no harder than the rest of the adjustments he had made over the years. But Sherman was in such bad shape he could barely move, and his hair was coming out in clumps. Chris decided to undertake a radical rehabilitation program designed not only to heal Sherman's body, but to heal his mind as well. It turns out, the best way to soothe a donkey is to give it a job, and so Chris decided to teach Sherman how to run. He'd heard about burro racing, a unique type of race where humans and donkeys run together in a callback to mining days, and decided he and Sherman would enter the World Championship in Fairplay, Colorado. In the course of Sherman's training, Chris would have to recruit several other runners, both human and equine. Along the way, he shows us the life-changing power of animals, nature, and community. H is for Hawk. By Helen MacDonald, Grove Press, $18. This memoir chronicles MacDonald's journey through intense grief. Following her father's sudden death, she copes by isolating herself and training a fierce goshawk named Mabel, exploring the bond between humans and wild animals. Made into an award-winning movie in 2025, this book is celebrated for its vivid descriptions of the British countryside and the intense, almost magical connection between the falconer and her bird. Alfie and Me, What Owls Know, What Humans Believe. By Carl Safina, W. W. Norton, $19.99. When Safina, an ecologist, and his wife rescue a baby screech owl that is near death, they think that just like the other animals they've rescued in the past, their relationship with it will be temporary. As Alfie grew and gained strength, she became a part of the family, joining a menagerie of dogs and chickens and making a home for herself in the backyard. Carl and Patricia began to realize that the healing was mutual. Alfie had been braided into their world and was now pulling them into hers. Raising Hare, a Memoir. By Chloe Dalton, Vintage Books, $21. Imagine you could hold a baby hare and bottle feed it. Imagine that it lived under your roof and bounded around your bedroom at night, drumming on the duvet cover when it wanted your attention. Imagine that, more than 2 years after you found it, cowering along a hiking trail, cold and shivering after having been chased by a dog, it still ran in from the fields when you called it and slept in your house for hours on end. For author Chloe Dalton, this became her unexpected reality. Winter Dance. By Gary Paulson, HarperCollins, $17.99. For 17 days, Gary Paulson and his team of dogs endured blinding wind, snowstorms, frostbite, dog fights, moose attacks, sleeplessness, hallucinations, and the relentless push to go on. This classic book for young readers is a breathtaking, heart-stopping, roller coaster ride that depicts the brutal reality of the Iditarod and the magnificent beauty of Alaska. Calvin and Hobbes. By Bill Watterson, Andrews McMeel Publishing, $16.99 to $24.99. The mishaps, adventures, and philosophical musings of young Calvin and his stuffed tiger, Hobbes, are available in collections and paperback books, and are as popular with today's kids, especially boys, as they were with their parents when they were a daily comic strip in newspapers. Beginning in 1985, the comics evoked a feeling of nostalgia, and through their misadventures, they capture life in the American Midwest. Calvin and Hobbes is ultimately about finding magic in the world, the necessity of play, and the value of a deeply felt, imaginative life, ending with a message of hope and exploration. Dog Show, Poems. By Billy Collins, Random House, $20. Dog Show celebrates the joy of our canine best friends, honoring the love we feel for these animals who play vital roles in so many of our lives. In 25 poems, Collins distills the many emotions dogs bring us, from the happiness we feel as we watch a dog trot out the door unencumbered by human burdens, to the silliness of holding a dog in our arms as we step on the scale together. With his usual insight, wit, and poetic voice, Collins ponders what we learn from our dogs, about ourselves. Until next month, happy reading. The staff at Covered Treasures can be reached at books@ocn.me. April Library Events, Quilt Display continues, call for summer teen volunteers. By Harriet Halbig. The quilts made by the Palmer Divide quilt makers will continue to be on display at the Monument Library through April. This is the 24th year of this program. The Pikes Peak Library District is now seeking teen volunteers for the Summer Adventure Reading Program sponsored by the Friends of the Pikes Peak Library District. Volunteer experience looks good on college and job applications. Teens ages 13 to 18 are encouraged to apply to volunteer during the 2026 Summer Adventure. Applications will be accepted until May 1st. To apply, go to ppld.org and click on the Teen Volunteer picture. At the bottom of the screen is a dark blue section on Getting Involved. Click on Teen Volunteers to fill out an application. Interviews and training will take place during April and May. A limited number of openings are available at each library. Teen volunteers assist with the summer reading program by registering participants, distributing prizes, supporting programs, and performing other duties as needed. Volunteers are also eligible to participate in the program. Regularly occurring programs at the Monument Library are Storytime each Tuesday from 10:30 to 11:15 for children 3 to 7 and their parent or caregiver. Socrates Cafe Adult Discussion Group on Tuesdays from 1 to 3. Pause to Read on Tuesdays from 4 to 5. Increase fluency by reading to a Pause to Read therapy dog. Toddler Time from 9:30 to 10 and 10:30 to 11 on Wednesdays for toddlers 1 to 2 and their parent or caregiver. On Saturday, April 4th, from 3:30 to 5:30, tweens ages 9 to 12 are invited to play a tabletop role-playing game. Create your own hero and explore new worlds in this interactive activity. Reservations are required at 719-531-6333 extension 7005. The Teen Craft Group will meet on Monday, April 6th, from 5 to 6. Bring your own project and socialize with crafters your age. This group meets on the first and third Monday of each month. An adult program on investing basics will be offered on Tuesday, April 7th, from 5 to 6:30. This program is geared toward adults who feel that they have a good knowledge of financial basics, with debts paid down and a solid emergency fund, wondering what to try next. Registration is required at 719-531-6333 extension 7005. Kids and tweens ages 6 to 12 are invited to the Palmer Lake Library for Idea Lab, Go Forth and Fort on Thursday, April 9th, from 4:30 to 5:15. Grab a book and work collaboratively to build your own best reading fort out of different cloth materials. No registration is required, but it is suggested that you arrive early. Thursday, April 16th, will once again feature the device drop-in program in Monument from 11 to noon. Bring your laptop, smartphone, or tablet, and library staff will help. Also available is help with understanding the new library catalog online. No registration is required. The Teen Craft Group will meet from 5 to 6 on Monday, April 20th. For details, see April 6th. The third Friday Friends of PPLD Book Group, sponsored by the Tri-Lakes Friends of the Library, will meet from 10:30 to 12:30 on Thursday, April 23rd, date changed due to a schedule conflict. This month's selection is The Lost Vintage by Ma. All adults are welcome to attend. The Monument Fiber Arts Group will meet from 10:30 to noon on Friday, April 24th. Bring your own project and enjoy the fellowship of other crafters. The Palmer Lake Library will hold an open house for all ages from 3 to 5 on Friday, April 24th. The open house will feature lawn games on the village green, food in the town hall, and artwork by one of the library's volunteers. The library is also partnering with the volunteer fire department for a display. All ages are welcome. Harriet Halbig may be reached at harriethalbig@ocn.me. Palmer Lake Historical Society, March 19th, History of Fox Farming Recounted. By Marlene Brown. The Palmer Lake Historical Society, PLHS, held its membership meeting on March 19th at the Palmer Lake Town Hall. The PLHS promotes, preserves, and protects the history of the Palmer Divide area. PLHS is also responsible for maintaining the Lucretia Vale Museum, downstairs in the Palmer Lake Library. It houses many photos, articles, and artifacts of Palmer Lake, Monument, Black Forest, and the surrounding area. The presentation for the night was by Julie Haverluck of Silver Fox Farms of El Paso County. Fox farming was a booming business in the 1920s and 30s. She said there were over 75 fox farms in the area of Douglas County and El Paso County in 1932. It was predicted to be one of the greatest industries in the state. Haverluck said that in the 1920s, the fashion was to wear a fox fur. There was a big market and everyone wanted one. The first fox farm in El Paso County was started in 1921 in Fountain. Northern El Paso County was perfect for raising foxes, a cool, dry climate with tall shade trees and good rail transportation. They would bring feed and supplies in and export the pelts to eastern and foreign markets. The Black Forest Fir Farm was started in the 1930s on 1,240 acres, Haverluck said. The farm had over 900 pens. In 1949, the Black Forest Fir Farm was sold to the Black Forest Baptist Assembly, which ran summer camps there for many years. In 1986, 390 acres were sold to El Paso County, which was named Fox Run Regional Park and was opened to the public in 1987. By 1945, the bottom fell out of the fox industry. With World War II, a 20% excise tax, and fashion evolving, people were not buying luxury items as they had just a decade before. By then, my grandparents, Bill and Esther Brown, had just begun to build their fox farm on the old Jackson Place, W.S. Jackson of Colorado Springs. They were able to pay off their ranch in 1 year and buy my grandmother a Cadillac. It was a very lucrative business while it lasted. PLHS meetings are usually held on the third Thursday of the month, 7 to 8:30 p.m., doors open at 6:30 p.m., at the Palmer Lake Town Hall, 28 Valley Crescent Street. They are free and open to the public. For full descriptions, dates, and times for future programs and information on memberships or donating to the PLHS, visit their newly updated website, palmerdividehistory.org. Marlene Brown can be reached at marlenebrown@ocn.me. The Nature of Our Community, Mountain Pine Beetles. By Dr. Judith Vaughn Ollefelt, landscape ecologist. In Colorado, the conifer hosts for mountain pine beetles, Dendroctonus ponderosae, are ponderosa pines and lodgepole pines, mountains. Ponderosa pines are dominant conifers of lower timberline forests bordering the Great Plains, and extend east from the mountains, mostly on private lands. Extra warm, mostly dry conditions and mild, short winters have supported major population increases in all bark beetles, especially mountain pine beetles, everywhere in Colorado. Other bark beetles that kill other species of conifers, spruce, Douglas fir, pinyon pine, have all increased dramatically in the past 2 years statewide. On December 16, 2025, Colorado Governor Jared Polis announced the formation of a special mountain pine beetle task force and appointed its members in late February. The task force has 3 co-chairs: Dan Gibbs, Executive Director, Colorado Department of Natural Resources, DNR, Matt McCombs, Director of the Colorado State Forest Service, State Forester, and Mike Morgan, Director of the State Division of Fire Prevention and Control. Mountain pine beetles are native insects, and usually have low, endemic, populations of a few infested trees in several to many square miles. Periodic epidemic population increases happen, of record, a few times a century per large areas. Epidemics may shift locations and last a decade or more, mostly last until there are no more suitable host trees, or populations are killed by extreme winter cold events. A week of extreme polar vortex 1981-82 stopped the 1977-82 epidemic in El Paso County. On the first day of spring, 2026, there are still endemic, light, occurrences of mountain pine beetle-infested trees in western El Paso County and on the Palmer Divide west of State Highway 83, per the 2024 Forest Health Report. Prompt removal of ponderosis infested last season, summer, fall of 2025, is critical to prevent a likely exponential increase as the 2022 to 2024 ongoing epidemic-level outbreak of mountain pine beetle in the fire perimeter areas of Black Forest continues. These epidemic areas are still mostly in locally light burn areas of southeast and south-central Black Forest, but spreading. Green ponderosa pines should be inspected now for still pliable pitch tubes higher than 2 to 3 feet on tree trunks. Take bark samples with an axe to check for blue stain wood on the trunk. Successfully infested trees are faded but may wilt and fade soon in hot, dry weather. Mountain pine beetles prefer larger trees, 14-inch diameter and larger, but can infest smaller ones 8 to 13-inch diameter. If the still green ponderosa has pitch tubes and blue stain in the trunk wood, it should be removed from the treed area before June to mitigate beetle populations. Only the trunks need to be removed from the site for beetle infestation. Slash can be disposed of separately. Cut trees from close to the base to a 6-inch top stem diameter. Search mountain pine beetle. Wood can be buried under 8 or more inches of soil, taken to Rocky Top Resources or to the Slash mulch site in Black Forest for 8-inch or smaller diameter logs cut into 6-foot or shorter lengths. It is too late in the season for plastic solar treatment, mastication, or pesticide application. The Black Forest //mulch site opens May 2nd. See bf/.org for details. There is a $10 per load dump fee. Rocky Top Resources Mainwood Recycling Facility is located on East Las Vegas Street in Colorado Springs. For private landowners, the weekday dump fee is $25 per load, and on Saturday, private landowners are charged $10 per load. There is no diameter or length limit on logs. Landowners must unload all sizes and types of loads at Rocky Top, so infested trunks may need to be cut to short lengths. Dr. Judith Von Ollefeld can be contacted at judithvonelfeld@ocn.me. High-altitude nature and gardens, attracting hummingbirds the safe and beautiful way. By Janet Sellers. The safest way to attract hummingbirds and other birds to your garden is to offer fresh water and blooming flowers. It is a beautiful way to attract hummingbirds for the season. Hummingbirds remember their reliable food and water sources and come back year after year. They follow the flower buffets, so gardening plans should include ongoing flowering or sequential flowering. A true copper penny, pre-1982, in the bird bath or waterer keeps out algae. Perennials just need to get started, and then you'll have blooms year after year and hummingbirds. To attract hummingbirds in Colorado, plant nectar-rich, tubular flowers like penstemon, agastache, sunset hyssop, bee balm, monarda, and cardinal flower. Key Colorado native plants include scarlet gilia, Rocky Mountain bee plant, and golden currant, which thrive in local conditions. For best results, choose plants that bloom at different times. Pest-free and powerfully attractive. Flowers in hanging pots offer the birds, and us, a safe place to enjoy each other. Often, hummingbirds will nest in a hanging pot, too. Native plants that hummingbirds already love will attract them easily, as well as eliminating the problems with bears, squirrels, and wasps. No more trotting out at night to remove the feeders or the feeders going sour and endangering the birds. Vertical gardens can hang anywhere, including fences, posts, and trees. They're commercially available, but we can also make them with things around the house in a variety of ways. Filling garden soil into feed or seed bags and other strong food-grade bags can be upcycled as vertical planters. Turned inside out, the advertising doesn't show while we wait for the plants to grow, and they can be painted for fun, too. Burlap is also a natural choice, but it dries out faster and may only be good for one season. Ensure the burlap and any materials used are clean and food-safe if you are growing edible plants or growing plants to be hummingbird-safe. Gardeners fill the bags with the soil, make slits around the bag, add their plants or seeds, and hang the bags by the handles or tether them. It works like a strawberry pot, only bigger. For growing food, it is safest to rely on food-safe materials, proper soil, consistent watering, and safe amendments. Tomatoes and other climbing plants work well this way because they'll just grow hanging downward instead of up a trellis. Some gardeners maintain that good quality soil, watering, and proper drainage are best, but some use hydrogels, and most add watering drain holes. Absorbent material at the bottom, hydrogels or gel beads, can help avoid drying out. Quality potting mix is the ideal, though, so use a mix that includes vermiculite, peat moss, or coconut coir to hold moisture. A good mulch is a friend even with pots. Apply a layer of organic mulch, like straw or bark, on top of the soil to reduce evaporation. Janet Sellers is an avid, lazy gardening enthusiast, letting Mother Nature lead for gardening wisdom in our Tri-Lakes high desert ecosystem. Share your garden tips and stories, Janet Sellers at ocn.me. Art Matters, The Architecture of Awe, Why Art Holds Nature's Secret Language. By Janet L. Sellers. Engineering a Forest Bath. Last month, we explored how the Nobel physicist Richard Feynman found a profound second language in art. He saw no conflict between the equations of the universe and the beauty of a flower. This month, I want to take that a step further. What if art isn't just a pretty addition to our lives, but a biological necessity? Living here in the ponderosa forests of Tri-Lakes, many of us practice what the Japanese call shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing. It isn't a hike or a workout, it's a sensory soak. It's the act of simply being, letting the scent of pine resin, the rhythm of the tides, or the vastness of a sunny sky wash over us. Our landscape provides more than just a view, it offers a complex biological rhythm. When we experience these natural fractals, our brains do something remarkable, they downregulate. Our cortisol drops, our heart rate steady, and a sense of restorative awe takes over. Our bodies recognize the organic world, whether it's the depths of an ocean or the reach of a meadow, as a home. In my recent research and MFA work, I've been asking a vital question: how do we bring that restorative bath to someone who can't leave their bed? I have developed indoor murals for this purpose. In some, the trees arch branches and leaves overhead onto the ceiling for the bedridden to see, creating a protective canopy. I call this the architecture of awe. The goal is to move beyond decorative pictures and create trace memories of nature, especially for clinical spaces. This research is informed by my time in Japan studying the concept of ma, the silent, resonant space between objects that allows the viewer to breathe. In my studio, I've been experimenting with ways to archive those feelings of being there onto a canvas. Instead of traditional brushes, I often use organic tools, like ponderosa pine branches, to apply pigment. By using the tools of the land and the pull of gravity, the resulting art holds the velocity of the outdoors. It creates a layered history on the canvas, a palimpsest, that our brains recognize instantly as an authentic natural rhythm. I have designed these works for walls, and some are modular, 2-3-2 triptychs. Designed for flexible installation, these 4-foot-high pieces follow a modular 2-3-2 configuration. The work consists of 2 2-foot-wide panels and 1 3-foot-wide panel. While each functions as an individual work, they can be combined into a seamless 7-foot-wide panorama of forest, sea, or sky. This flexibility allows the healing power of nature to adapt to any clinical footprint, extending its restorative reach directly onto a sterile wall. Why does this matter? Because when a patient or client encounters these natural rhythms, their nervous system begins to respond as if they were standing under the pines or by the shore. These trace memories act as a biological anchor, reminding the body how to heal. Art matters because it is a bridge. Just as Feynman used art to see the world more clearly, we can use it to feel the world more deeply. By bringing the essence of nature into our buildings, we aren't just decorating walls, we are engineering a way back to peace. Janet L. Sellers is a professional artist and educator developing nature-based architecture of awe prototypes for healthcare. She frequently shares her research through community talks and professional lectures. Contact Janet Sellers at ocn.me. Our Community Notices. By Janet Sellers. Although we strive for accuracy in these listings, dates or times are often changed after publication. Please double-check the time and place of any event you wish to attend by calling the information number for that event. Please notify us if your event listing needs to be updated. El Paso County Property Protection Program. El Paso County has launched a new property protection program to help prevent fraudulent deed transfers and real estate scams. The program alerts property owners whenever a document is filed using their name on any property, so owners can quickly verify whether the filing is legitimate or the result of attempted fraud. Residents may register multiple name variations and household members. At this time, the program can only monitor filings made after you enroll, but officials are exploring options to expand coverage. Property records can also be reviewed in person at the county clerk and recorder's office. To learn more or register, visit the El Paso County Clerk and Recorder's Property Protection Program webpage. For more information on the PPP program, go to this link, https://clerkandrecorder.elpasoco.com/recording/property-protection. Prepare now for wildfires. You need to prepare your property for when wildfire comes close. See Colorado State Forest Service's booklet, The Home Ignition Zone, a guide to preparing your home for wildfire and creating defensible space. https://csfs.coloradostate.edu/wp-content/upload/2021/04/2021_CSFS_web.pdf. It's up to you to reduce the risks on your private property by analyzing where the fuels are. Easy things like getting pine needles out of your gutter will help. The booklet has ideas for homes in prairies, forests, or suburban areas. MFD seeks your help. Monument Fire District residents and businesses can create a secure account at Community Connect which firefighters can access in emergencies to find out about people with special needs, aggressive or anxious pets, gate or garage codes, hazardous materials in use, etc. that will make it easier for them to help. www.communityconnect.io/info/code-monument. Coyote Safety. With coyote activity on the rise in our neighborhoods, please stay alert to keep our community, children and pets safe. Stay vigilant, keep a close eye on small children during outdoor activities. Pets, keep dogs on short leashes and avoid leaving them unattended, especially at dawn and dusk. Secure attractants, keep trash bins sealed and do not leave pet food or water bowls outside. Practice hazing, if you see a coyote, don't run. Stand tall, wave your arms, and make loud noises to scare it away. Let's work together to respect local wildlife while keeping our households secure. School bus safety. Drivers who pass a stopped school bus with its stop arm extended and flashing lights constitute a dangerous and life-threatening violation of traffic laws. In Colorado, you must stop for a school bus with flashing red lights and an extended stop arm, stopping at least 20 feet away, unless you are on the opposite side of a highway divided by a physical, raised, or depressed median, b, on a two-lane road or one where painted lines, but no physical barrier, separate lanes, you must still stop, c, after stopping, you must remain stopped until the bus's lights stop flashing and it begins to move again. Colorado school buses are increasingly being equipped with automated stop arm cameras to record and catch drivers who illegally pass a stopped school bus. Recent legislation allows for the installation and use of these systems by school districts. Academy School District 20 in Colorado uses school bus cameras, including the stop arm camera system and interior cameras, to enhance student safety and to document drivers who pass a stopped school bus with flashing lights and an extended stop arm. DUI expressed consent. Refusing to comply with Colorado's expressed consent law, which requires drivers to provide a breath or blood test upon arrest for a DUI, means increased consequences. In addition to $13,500 in costs, refusal to comply will result in additional penalties, which can include extended time without a driver's license, longer interlock requirements, designation as a persistent drunk driver or increased alcohol education requirements. codot.gov/choose-totist. Tri-Lakes Cares needs your support. Tri-Lakes Cares is the only food pantry and human services organization serving northern El Paso County through emergency relief and self-sufficiency programs. The community-based, volunteer-supported center is a critical resource for our neighbors in need. The best way to help support Tri-Lakes Cares is to donate. Visit https://tri-lakescars.org/donate to learn how to donate money, medical items, personal supplies, or food. Please check the web for current needs in our food pantry at https://tri-lakescars.org/donate/current-needs. Donation drop-off hours are Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. For more information about Tri-Lakes Cares or how you can help, contact Tri-Lakes Cares at 719-481-4864 or info@tri-lakescars.org. Get help in Larkspur. Larkspur Church has a food bank and care center that offer a good variety of non-perishable food items, as well as clothing for men, women, and children, some household items available too. We're here to help. If you are in need, or know someone who is, please reach out to Jeff at gethelp@larkspur.church. If you would like to donate, contact Jeff by the same email to arrange a pickup. Black Forest Log School needs your help. Please help preserve the historic school for another 103 years. New exterior damage was discovered. It has exceeded the budget renovation funds. Friends of the Black Forest Log School, a 501c3 corporation, appreciates your donation. Please send a check or bring cash to Black Forest Community Foundation, 6770 Shoup Road, Black Forest, Colorado 90808. www.beeflogschool.com. Forest and gardening volunteers needed. Friends of Fox Run Park has openings for student volunteers, and grown-ups, too, most of the year for various tasks. Besides tasks, the group offers information and skills demonstrations for each 2 to 3 hour session, and celebrates volunteers at the park with annual community events. The Tri-Lakes Cares on-site garden in Monument also needs volunteers in fall, spring, and summer. Gardening tasks include preparing garden beds, weeding, sowing seeds, and developing the compost. Bring gardening gloves, some tools will be provided on the workdays. Contact Janet Sellers at janetsellers@ocn.me or Marlene Brown at marlenebrown@ocn.me for more information. State and county volunteer opportunities. The Colorado State University Extension Office in El Paso County has several opportunities for individuals interested in volunteering. https://elpaso.extension.coloradostate.edu/volunteer-opportunities. The El Paso County Sheriff's Office Volunteer Program is composed of a collective citizens group with a true and common desire to partner with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office by volunteering their services while learning more about the internal workings of the law enforcement community. https://www.epcsheriffsoffice.com/volunteer-program/. The El Paso County Volunteer Program is a wonderful opportunity for citizens to learn about the various functions of county government as well as give back to the community. The county's numerous boards and commissions need your experience, talents, and time. https://bocc.elpasoco.com/volunteer/. Discover great ways to engage with our community. By John Heiser, Publisher, OCN. At our community news, OCN, we are excited to provide great ways to help you connect better with our vibrant Tri-Lakes community. Interactive website features. Our website lets you post questions and comments on articles, columns, letters, events, and podcasts. Share your thoughts. Join the conversation. Enjoy 2 audio OCN content options: brief AI-generated highlights, 1 to 2 minutes, or full verbatim readings. Explore now at www.ocn.me. Our 2 monthly audio podcasts offer large animated subtitles readable on smartphones. One presents highlights from all of the news articles and columns, and the other reads the complete articles and columns. While you can listen to or watch our podcasts on YouTube, www.tinyurl.com/ocn on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, www.tinyurl.com/ocn on Apple, or Spotify, www.tinyurl.com/ocn on Spotify. We think you will have the best experience listening or watching on our website at ocn.me/podcast.htm, where the length of each segment is displayed and you can easily skip to the segments that are of the greatest interest to you. Check out our online calendar. The extensive community calendar that we carry in every issue is now online at ocn.me/events. You can search for your favorite events and easily add them to your calendar program. Watch short clips of local events on OCN's YouTube channel. Relive holiday parades, talent show performances, and more on our YouTube channel. Check out our playlists at youtube.com/@ourcommunitynews and subscribe today. Stay informed with email newsletter and mobile and desktop app. Get breaking news, event alerts, and exclusive updates between our monthly issues. Sign up for our free email newsletter at ocn.me/newslettersignup. Our mobile and desktop app at ocn.me/app alerts you to upcoming events you don't want to miss, lists our latest newsletters, articles, podcasts, and photo collections updated automatically to keep you informed. Create a personal favorites list of articles and upcoming events. John Heiser can be contacted at johnheiser@ocn.me. Thank you for joining us for the audio versions of the articles and columns from this issue of OCN. To dive into the full articles and columns or explore more content, visit ocn.me. Don't miss out, sign up for our community newsletter to stay updated with every new post.